The Force binds all things across the galaxy, connecting every living being in an invisible web of energy that flows through stars, planets, and the void between them. For 1,000 generations, the Jedi have been its guardians, interpreting its will and maintaining balance. But what happens when something tears through the fabric of space itself, something that operates on power the Force cannot touch, wielded by a warrior who knows nothing of light or dark, only the unbreakable bonds of friendship and an unshakable will to protect? The Battle of Christophsis raged across the crystalline planet's surface, turbolaser fire painting the sky in streaks of green and red. Clone troopers in white armor pressed forward through rubble-strewn streets, their DC-15 blasters chattering against the metallic tide of separatist battle droids. Anakin Skywalker stood atop a bombed-out building, his blue lightsaber deflecting blaster bolts with practiced ease as he surveyed the chaos below. Beside him, his Padawan Ahsoka Tano carved through a squad of B-1 droids, her twin sabers spinning in a blur of motion. "Master, we're getting hammered on the eastern flank." Ahsoka called over the comlink, her voice strained but determined. "I see it, Snips." "Rex, move your men to support." Anakin's words died as every hair on his body suddenly stood on end. The Force screamed a warning unlike anything he'd ever felt, not danger, but something fundamentally wrong. Reality itself seemed to shudder. High above the battlefield, space ripped. Not a hyperspace exit, not an explosion, a tear, as if the universe were fabric and something had punched through from the other side. Orange and gold energy crackled around the wound in spacetime, and for a split second, both Republic and Separatist forces froze, staring upward at the impossible sight. Something fell through the rift. It wasn't a ship. It was a person, a young man wreathed in golden energy that flickered and died as he plummeted toward the planet's surface. His scream of surprise cut through the sudden silence as he dropped like a meteor, trailing smoke and displaced hyperspace particles. The rift sealed itself with a thunderclap that shattered crystal formations across 3 city blocks. The impact cratered a plaza 200 meters from Anakin's position, sending a shockwave that knocked droids and clones alike off their feet. Dust and pulverized crystal obscured the landing site as alarms blared across the battlefield. For a moment, neither side moved, all eyes fixed on the settling cloud. What in the blazes was that? Captain Rex's voice crackled over comlink, his weapon trained on the crater. Anakin ignited his lightsaber again, reaching out with the Force. What he sensed made his breath catch. There was something in that crater, alive and conscious, but the Force couldn't quite touch it. Like trying to grip smoke, the presence slipped through his mental grasp even as he knew it was there. It radiated energy, immense and foreign, operating on principles that had nothing to do with midichlorians or the cosmic force. "Stay sharp," Anakin ordered, leaping down from his vantage point. Ahsoka landed beside him, her mantle twitching as she too tried to sense the newcomer. "Master, I can barely feel them in the Force. It's like they're wrapped in something else." The dust began to clear. At the center of the crater, surrounded by fractured crystal and scorched stone, a figure stirred. He pushed himself up on his hands and knees, coughing, bright orange fabric stark against the gray devastation. As he rose to his feet, both Jedi got their first clear look at him. He appeared human, probably in his late teens or early 20s, with spiky blonde hair that defied gravity and 3 distinctive whisker-like marks on each cheek. He wore an orange and black jumpsuit utterly unlike anything in the Republic's fashion databases, with a metal headband bearing a spiral symbol strapped to his forehead. Most striking were his eyes, impossibly blue, currently wide with confusion as he spun in a circle, taking in the alien battlefield. Where am I?" The young man's voice carried despite the renewed sounds of distant combat. He spoke basic, though with an accent Anakin couldn't place. "This isn't the Valley of the End. This isn't even." His eyes landed on a destroyed battle droid, its mechanical parts scattered across the ground, then swept up to see the crystal towers and the star-filled sky of a planet he'd never seen. What the hell happened? A squad of clone troopers approached cautiously, weapons raised. "Hands where we can see them," Rex barked. The blonde raised his hands slowly, but Anakin noticed his stance, weight distributed perfectly, muscles coiled, ready to move. This was someone who'd been in countless fights. The stranger's eyes darted from the clones to their weapons to Anakin's ignited lightsaber, processing threats with practiced speed. Whoa, hold on. The young man's voice carried an earnest quality that caught Anakin off guard. I don't know what's going on here, but I'm not your enemy. I was in the middle of, he paused, pain flickering across his face. I was fighting someone, and then everything just tore apart. You're coming with us, Anakin said firmly, approaching with his lightsaber still active but lowered to a less aggressive angle. We've got questions, and you're going to answer them. The stranger's eyes fixed on the lightsaber, fascination cutting through his confusion. Is that some kind of chakra blade? I've never seen anything like. Chakra? Ahsoka interrupted. What's chakra? The young man blinked, looked at her, then at Anakin, then at the clones, and finally at the sky where twin moons hung above the crystal planet. A look of dawning horror crossed his face. Oh no. Oh no. This isn't just another country, is it? This is. He took a shaky breath. You guys have spaceships, don't you? Before anyone could answer, a massive explosion rocked the western district. The separatist forces, recovering from their shock, had resumed their assault with renewed vigor. A wave of super battle droids marched through a breach in the Republic's defensive line, their wrist-mounted blasters tearing through crystal and clone armor alike. Rex, get him secured and back to base. Anakin ordered. Ahsoka, with me. Wait. The blonde stepped forward, and every clone's weapon tracked him. He raised his hands again but his voice carried absolute certainty. Those guys, the droids, they're the enemy, right? And those soldiers in white, they're on your side. That's not your concern right now, Anakin said. The stranger's eyes hardened with sudden resolve, and Anakin recognized that look. It was the same one he saw in the mirror before diving into impossible odds. Where I come from, the young man said quietly, when people are in trouble, you help them. That's the way of the shinobi. That's my ninja way. Ninja? Ahsoka cocked her head. What's up? The blonde brought his hands together in a strange cross-shaped seal. *** shadow clone jutsu, ***. The world erupted in smoke and displaced air. When it cleared a second later, Anakin's jaw dropped. Where one confused stranger had stood, now stood 50 identical copies, all grinning with the same determination, all radiating that same strange not-quite force energy. Alright, all 50 voices said in perfect unison. Let's save some people. Believe it. And before anyone could stop him, the army of orange-clad warriors charged directly into the battle zone, leaving 2 Jedi, a captain, and an entire squad of clone troopers staring in stunned disbelief. Master, Ahsoka said slowly, what just happened? Anakin deactivated his lightsaber, a grin spreading across his face. I have absolutely no idea, Snips. But I think we just found the galaxy's strangest new ally. If you want to see more characters enter the Star Wars galaxy, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. May the Force be with you. The super battle droids never saw it coming. Naruto Uzumaki, though the clones didn't know his name yet, hit the separatist line like a hurricane of orange and blonde. His shadow clones scattered across the battlefield with practiced coordination, each one moving independently yet perfectly synchronized with the others. One clone leaped impossibly high, sailing over a destroyed AT-TE walker before driving both fists into a battle droid's chassis, crumpling it like cheap tin. 2 more worked in tandem, one sliding low to sweep a droid's legs while the other delivered a chakra-enhanced punch that sent its head spinning into orbit. Captain Rex lowered his electrobinoculars slowly. Sir, that's not possible. Those aren't holograms, they're solid. I'm reading 50 distinct heat signatures. Anakin watched as 3 clones grabbed a super battle droid by its arms and legs, swinging it like a battering ram into its companions. I can see that, Rex. The question is how. Master, should we help him? Ahsoka asked, already moving toward the battle. I think he's doing fine on his own. Anakin wasn't wrong. The stranger's fighting style was unlike anything he'd seen, not the elegant forms of lightsaber combat or the rigid discipline of clone trooper tactics, but something wild and improvisational. The clones, the ninja's clones, adapted to each threat instantly, using the environment, each other, and sheer audacity to overwhelm opponents that outgunned them. A destroyer droid rolled into position, its shields flickering to life as it opened fire. Blaster bolts tore through two shadow clones, which exploded into white smoke with a sound like tearing paper. But 10 more were already converging on the droideka from different angles. One slid under its shield, another leaped over it, and a third, the original, Anakin somehow knew, landed on top with a spinning ball of blue energy forming in his palm. Rasengan, Naruto drove the technique into the destroyer droid's back. The spinning sphere of chakra drilled through armor plating like it was paper, shredding internal circuitry. The droid collapsed, sparking and dead. Did you see that? Ahsoka breathed. That energy attack, it wasn't the Force, but it was something. The battle turned quickly. Clone troopers, initially shocked by their unexpected reinforcement, adapted with military efficiency. They began coordinating with the shadow clones, using them as forward scouts and shock troops while providing covering fire. The separatist advance stalled, then broke, droids retreating in disarray as the strange orange warriors pushed them back block by block. Anakin reached out with the Force again, trying to understand what he was witnessing. Each clone carried a fragment of the original's presence, that foreign, slippery energy that felt almost alive in its own right. When the clones dispersed, that energy snapped back to the source like elastic. It was elegant in its own way, purposeful and controlled. Not the Force, but not the Force either. Something parallel. Something that existed alongside it without ever quite touching. All squads, advance. Rex ordered over the comlink. Coordinate with the orange guys. One of the shadow clones heard him and flashed a thumbs up. You got it, soldier. Just point us at the bad guys. The clone captain blinked at the casual familiarity. These copies talked like people, joked like people, even showed individual personality quirks despite being duplicates. One was more cautious, another more aggressive, a third kept trying complicated aerial maneuvers. They learned from each other in real time, adjusting tactics as the battle progressed. Within 20 minutes, the separatist assault was broken. The droids retreated to their landing ships, leaving behind smoking wreckage and stunned Republic forces. As the last enemy transport lifted off, the shadow clones began disappearing one by one, dissolving into smoke until only the original remained, standing in the middle of the plaza with his hands on his knees, breathing hard. Anakin approached carefully. Up close, he could see the strain on the young man's face, not exhaustion exactly, but something like it. Sweat beaded on his forehead, and his chakra, if that's what it was called, flickered unevenly, like a flame in wind. That was quite a show, Anakin said. I'm General Anakin Skywalker, and this is my Padawan, Ahsoka Tano. The blonde straightened, wiping his brow. Naruto Uzumaki. Future Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village. He paused, a flicker of pain crossing his face. Or. I don't even know if I can get back. Hidden Leaf Village. Ahsoka cocked her head. I've never heard of that system. It's not a system. Naruto looked up at the alien sky, twin moons still visible in the afternoon light. It's a village in my world. My dimension, I guess. We don't have crystal cities or flying ships or laser swords. We have ninja, chakra, and jutsu. He looked at his hands, flexing his fingers. And somehow I ended up here, wherever here is. Christophsis, Anakin supplied. Outer Rim world, currently contested between the Republic and the Separatist Alliance. You arrived in the middle of a war. Yeah, I noticed. Naruto's expression hardened. Those droids were trying to kill your soldiers. I couldn't just stand there and watch. Captain Rex approached, his helmet tucked under one arm. His scarred face showed open curiosity. That technique you used, the copies. How many can you make? Depends. Naruto grinned, some of his energy returning. I've made over 1,000 before. More if I really need to. Shadow clones are kind of my specialty. 1,000? Ahsoka's montrals stood straight up in shock. But wouldn't that kill most people? Yeah. Naruto's grin turned sheepish. I've got a lot more chakra than normal ninja. Long story. Really long story involving a giant fox demon and some complicated village politics. Anakin filed that information away for later. A demon? The galaxy had force entities and ancient Sith spirits, but nothing quite like what the kid was describing. This chakra, it's your power source. Like how we use the force. The what now? Naruto tilted his head. The Jedi shared a glance. The kid genuinely didn't know. The force is an energy field created by all living things, Anakin explained. It surrounds us, penetrates us, binds the galaxy together. The Jedi use it to keep peace, too. Wait. Naruto held up a hand. You're saying there's this cosmic energy that connects everything, and you guys can use it? Like, sensing people's emotions and moving stuff with your mind? Among other things, yes. Ha. Naruto looked thoughtful. Chakra's kind of similar, I guess. It's the combination of physical and spiritual energy. Every living thing has it, but ninja train to mold it and use jutsu, techniques. Different types, different elements, different effects. He held out his hand, and blue energy flickered weakly around his palm before sputtering out. Though mine's not working quite right here. It's like trying to breathe underwater. The energy's there, but it's harder to grab. Ahsoka stepped closer, fascinated. Can I sense your chakra with the force? Go for it, I guess. She reached out, her face scrunching in concentration. After a moment, she shook her head. It's there, but it's like trying to see something behind frosted glass. I know you're using energy, but the force can't quite touch it directly. Parallel systems, Anakin murmured. Two different ways of accessing power, existing side by side without intersecting. His mind raced with the implications. The Jedi Order had studied the Force for millennia, built an entire philosophy around it being the fundamental energy of existence. And here was a kid from another dimension proving that assumption wrong. There were other powers, other ways. The Council needed to know about this. A Republic shuttle descended toward the plaza, its repulsor lifts kicking up crystal dust. The battle might be over, but Anakin knew the real challenge was just beginning. They'd have to take Naruto back to Coruscant, present him to the Jedi Council, and somehow explain that everything they thought they knew about the nature of power in the universe had just gotten complicated. So, Naruto said slowly, watching the shuttle land, am I under arrest, or? That depends. Anakin deactivated his lightsaber and clipped it to his belt. Are you going to cooperate? Depends on what you're asking me to do. Naruto's eyes were serious now, the playful grin gone. I help people who need it. I protect my friends. And I don't follow orders just because someone tells me to. That's not who I am. Rex snorted quietly. Kid reminds me of someone, General. Ahsoka grinned. Yeah, he really does. Anakin felt a smile tug at his own lips. The Council was going to hate this. A dimensional refugee with unknown powers, an independent streak a parsec wide, and absolutely no respect for protocol. They'd want to study him, contain him, figure out if he was a threat. But standing here, watching this orange-clad warrior who'd thrown himself into a battle to save strangers without hesitation. Anakin saw something else entirely. He saw someone who might just help them win this war. "Come on, Naruto Uzumaki," Anakin said, gesturing toward the shuttle. "Let's introduce you to the Jedi Order. Fair warning, they're going to ask you a lot of questions." Naruto sighed dramatically but followed. "Yeah, I kind of figured. Never could stay out of trouble." As they boarded the shuttle and lifted off, none of them noticed the small probe droid perched on a distant crystal tower, its photoreceptors recording everything. The footage was already transmitting across secure separatist channels, headed for Count Dooku's personal review. The galaxy's most carefully laid plans had just encountered their first wild card. The Jedi Temple on Coruscant rose like a beacon of ancient serenity amid the planet-spanning cityscape, its 5 spires reaching toward the sky as if trying to touch the Force itself. Naruto pressed his face against the viewport of the Republic cruiser, eyes wide as they descended through layers of traffic that would make the busiest day in the Hidden Leaf look like a quiet afternoon. "This is insane," he breathed. "How many people live here?" "On Coruscant?" Ahsoka came to stand beside him. "About 1 trillion, give or take." "1 trillion?" Naruto's voice cracked. I can't even imagine that many people." "Welcome to the galactic stage, kid." Anakin watched the young ninja's reaction with amusement. For someone who could summon an army of duplicates and punch through battle droids like tissue paper, Naruto showed a refreshing capacity for wonder. No cynicism, no jaded acceptance, just pure, genuine amazement at the scale of everything around him. The cruiser landed on one of the temple's platforms, and clone troopers formed an escort as they disembarked. Naruto noticed immediately. "Am I a prisoner?" "Guest of interest," Anakin corrected. "The council wants to meet you. They're cautious about unknown variables." "Yeah, I bet." Naruto's hand instinctively went to his headband, fingers brushing the Hidden Leaf symbol. The gesture seemed unconscious, a touchstone to remind him of home. "Back in my world, when a stranger shows up with weird powers, people either try to use you or get rid of you. Usually both." Rex, walking beside them, raised an eyebrow. "Sounds like you've got experience with that." "More than I'd like." Naruto's expression darkened for a moment, then he shook it off with visible effort. "But hey, you guys seem different. That Anakin guy, General Skywalker, he could have locked me up right away, but he gave me a chance. That counts for something." They entered the temple through massive doors that hissed open at their approach. The interior took Naruto's breath away, soaring ceilings, shafts of sunlight illuminating ancient stonework, and an overwhelming sense of peace that permeated everything. He could feel it even through his chakra, a kind of calm that had nothing to do with his own energy system and everything to do with generations of meditation and contemplation soaked into the very walls. "Whoa," he whispered. "This place feels old. Really old." "Over 4,000 years, a calm voice said. A Keldor Jedi Master approached, his breathing mask covering the lower half of his face. "I am Master Plo-kun. The Force is strong in this temple, young one. Can you sense it?" Naruto frowned, concentrating. "Not exactly. It's like, there's something here, but it's not chakra. It's different. Smoother, maybe. Less personal." He struggled for words. "Chakra feels like it belongs to someone. This feels like it belongs to everything." Plo-kun's eyes crinkled in what might have been approval. "A perceptive observation. Come, the council awaits." The council chamber sat at the top of one of the temple spires, a circular room with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of Coruscant's endless cityscape. 12 seats arranged in a circle, though only 9 were currently occupied. Naruto felt the weight of their attention as he entered, 12 pairs of eyes, some human, some distinctly alien, studying him with varying degrees of curiosity and concern. Master Yoda sat in his hover chair, ancient eyes bright with interest. Master Mace Windu occupied another seat, his expression carefully neutral but his hand resting near his lightsaber. Others Naruto didn't recognize watched with the patient intensity of people who'd spent lifetimes learning to read others through the Force. "Naruto Uzumaki," Yoda said, his voice carrying surprising authority for someone so small. "Come from another dimension, you have. Unexpected, this is. Unprecedented, even." Naruto stepped forward, trying not to be intimidated by the sheer presence these people radiated. He'd faced down gods and demons back home, he could handle a room full of space monks, no matter how intense their stares. "Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out how that happened. One second I was fighting," he hesitated, "someone really powerful back home. Next second, reality just broke. And I ended up here. This power you wield," Mace Windu leaned forward, "this chakra. Explain it." Naruto launched into an explanation, describing how chakra combined physical and spiritual energy, how ninja molded it to perform jutsu, the different elemental natures and advanced techniques. He demonstrated a small Rasengan, the blue sphere of spinning chakra flickering weakly in his palm before dissipating. "It's harder here," he admitted. "Like the energy doesn't flow quite right. I can still use it, but it takes more concentration. Because chakra is not of this dimension," Master Kyarimundi observed. "You're drawing on reserves you brought with you, but you cannot replenish them fully from this reality's ambient energy." "Maybe." Naruto dismissed the failed Rasengan. "Or maybe I just need to figure out how to adapt. Ivra learned new techniques before. This is just, really different." Yoda's ears twitched. "Adaptable, he is. Strong-willed, also. Reminds me of someone, he does." The ancient master's gaze flickered to Anakin, who stood against the wall with Ahsoka. "The shadow clones concern me," Mace said bluntly. "The ability to create dozens, hundreds, of solid duplicates. In the wrong hands, such a technique could destabilize entire systems." Naruto's eyes hardened. "It's not about wrong hands or right hands. It's about why you use power. I use shadow clones to protect people, to train faster, to be where I'm needed. Yeah, someone bad could use them for bad stuff. That's true of literally any technique. But you can't judge someone based on what they might do." "Wise words," Plo-kun said softly. "Yet wisdom must be balanced with caution. On Christoph Sis, you engaged separatist forces without orders," Mace continued. "Without understanding the strategic situation or the larger conflict. What if your interference had disrupted Republic operations? Then I would have figured that out and adjusted." Naruto's voice rose with frustration. "Look, I get that you guys have your rules and your strategies and whatever. But I saw people in danger, those clone soldiers were about to get overwhelmed. Was I supposed to just stand there and watch them die while I waited for permission to help?" "That's not what he's saying," Anakin interjected. "But Naruto, this isn't a simple conflict. The Clone Wars involve thousands of systems, millions of soldiers, and political complexities you can't imagine. One person acting on instinct, no matter how good their intentions, can cause catastrophic consequences. Then maybe your war is too complicated." Naruto met Anakin's eyes steadily. "Back home, we had wars too. Village against village, nation against nation. And yeah, there were strategies and politics and all that. But at the end of the day, it came down to one thing. Protecting the people you care about. Everything else is just noise." Silence fell over the council chamber. Several masters exchanged glances, communicating through the Force in ways Naruto couldn't perceive. Finally, Yoda spoke again. "Feel the Force in you, we cannot. Yet connected to it, you may be, in ways we do not understand. This chakra, parallel to the Force, it seems. Not light, not dark. Something, other. Is that a problem?" Naruto asked carefully. "Unknown, the answer is." Yoda's expression grew thoughtful. "But concerning to some, it will be. Power without the Force's guidance, chaotic, it appears unpredictable. I'm not chaotic, Naruto protested. I have my own code. My ninja way. I protect my friends, I never give up, and I believe people can change if you give them a chance. That's what guides me. A personal code, Mace Windu said slowly, rather than a cosmic one. The Force guides the Jedi toward balance, toward service and selflessness. Your way is individualistic. Is that wrong? Naruto challenged. You're talking about balance, but I've seen people use balance as an excuse to not act, to let bad things happen because intervening would be disrupting the natural order or whatever. Sometimes you have to be willing to upset the balance to do what's right. Anakin felt a smile tug at his lips. The kid was arguing philosophy with the Jedi Council, the most powerful Force users in the galaxy, and doing it with the confidence of someone who'd already won arguments with gods. The Council noticed too. Several masters looked distinctly uncomfortable with Naruto's challenges to their worldview. What do you know of our war? Master Shakti asked, her voice gentle but probing. The conflict between the Republic and the Separatists? Naruto shrugged. Not much. Anakin, General Skywalker, said something about systems fighting for independence versus the Republic trying to hold things together. Honestly, it sounds kind of like the situation back home with the different villages and nations. The Separatists are led by Count Dooku, Anakin explained. A former Jedi who turned to the dark side of the Force. They use droid armies to conquer systems, enslaving populations and stealing resources. Okay, so they're definitely the bad guys. Naruto nodded. Got it. It's not that simple, Master Kit Fisto interjected. Many systems joined the Separatists for legitimate grievances against Republic corruption and overreach. The war has created suffering on both sides. Naruto's expression grew troubled. So there are good people fighting for the Separatists too? Some, yes. Then why are we fighting them? Naruto looked around the circle of masters. If both sides have legitimate concerns, why not just talk? Figure out a compromise? We've tried, Mace said heavily. Dooku refuses negotiation. He seeks nothing less than the Republic's complete destruction. So talk to the people under him. Go around him. Naruto's hands clenched into fists. There's always a way to reach people if you try hard enough. I've turned enemies into friends before. Even people everyone said were beyond redemption. Yoda's ears perked up with keen interest. Tell us, you will, of these people. Naruto hesitated, old pain flickering across his face. There was this guy, Gaara. Everyone in his village feared him, called him a monster. He tried to kill me multiple times. But I saw past the anger and the hatred to the scared, lonely kid underneath. We fought, and I showed him there was another way. Now he's one of my best friends and one of the strongest protectors his village has. He took a breath. Then there was Nagato, Pain. He killed people I cared about, destroyed my entire village. I should have hated him. But when I met him, when I understood his pain and his reasons, I couldn't just kill him. We talked, and in the end, he gave his life to bring everyone back. The silence in the council chamber was profound. Several masters stared at Naruto with something approaching awe, others with deep skepticism. You speak of changing people's hearts through understanding, Plo-kun said quietly. A noble goal. But the dark side corrupts absolutely. Those who fall to it rarely return. Then maybe you're not trying hard enough. Naruto's voice carried absolute conviction. Everyone has darkness in them. Everyone has light too. It's about which one you choose to feed, and sometimes people need help making that choice. Giving up on someone because they're corrupted, or fallen, or whatever, that's just taking the easy way out. Mace Windu's jaw tightened. You presume much about matters you don't understand. Maybe. Or maybe you've been fighting this war so long you've forgotten how to do anything except fight. Naruto's blue eyes blazed with intensity. I'm not saying it's easy. Changing people's hearts is the hardest thing there is. But it's worth trying. Interesting perspective, this is, Yoda murmured. Test you, we must. Understand your power, learn your nature. Stay in the temple, you will, under supervision. So I am a prisoner. A guest, Yoda corrected, who must earn our trust, as we must earn yours. Fair, is this not? Naruto considered, then nodded slowly. Yeah, okay. That's fair. But I'm not going to stop being who I am just because it makes you uncomfortable. And if people need help, your soldiers, civilians, anyone, I'm going to help them whether you give me permission or not. Spoken like a true Skywalker, Ahsoka whispered to Anakin. That's what I'm afraid of, Anakin whispered back, though he couldn't quite suppress his grin. The council dismissed them, and as they exited the chamber, Naruto felt the weight of a dozen contemplative stares following him. He'd shaken them, challenged assumptions they'd held for generations. Whether that was good or bad remained to be seen. That went better than expected, Anakin said once they were in the hallway. Really? Because it felt like they were one wrong word away from locking me up. Oh, they definitely considered it. But you held your ground without being disrespectful. The council respects that, even when they disagree. Anakin clapped him on the shoulder. Come on. Let's get you settled in guest quarters. Tomorrow, we figure out how to get you home. Naruto looked out at the endless city beyond the temple walls, feeling very small and very far from everything he'd ever known. But he'd been alone before. He'd been lost before. And he'd always found his way forward. Yeah, he said quietly. Tomorrow. The training grounds beneath the Jedi temple hummed with activity as younglings practiced four-eye lightsaber sequences under the watchful eye of their instructors. Naruto stood at the edge of the practice area, watching with fascination as children no older than 8 or 9 moved through precise choreographed movements, their training sabers leaving trails of blue and green light in the air. They start young, he observed. Anakin nodded, standing beside him with arms crossed. The Jedi believe in taking Force-sensitive children early, before attachments can form. It's controversial, even within the order. Controversial? Naruto's voice carried an edge. You take kids away from their families. To give them training they need to control abilities that could hurt themselves or others. To teach them discipline, selflessness, service. Anakin's tone suggested he'd had this argument before. At least, that's the official reasoning. But you don't agree. I think, Anakin said carefully, that denying all emotional connections creates just as many problems as it solves. But that's a conversation for another time. Come on, we've got the training room reserved for the next hour. They moved to a private chamber deeper in the temple complex, a circular space with reinforced walls and a high ceiling. Ahsoka was already there, stretching and preparing. Over the past 3 days since Naruto's arrival, a routine had developed. Mornings, he trained with Anakin and Ahsoka, testing the limits of his abilities in this new dimension. Afternoons, he studied with temple archivists, learning about the galaxy's history, politics, and the nature of the Force. Evenings, he meditated alone, trying to reconcile chakra with the pervasive energy that filled everything around him. His chakra reserves had stabilized at roughly 70% of their normal capacity. Not ideal, but workable. More concerning was the difficulty in maintaining complex techniques. His Sage mode wouldn't activate at all, and even basic elemental jutsu flickered unreliably. It was as if the fundamental energy that powered his abilities existed at a slightly different frequency here, requiring constant adjustment to use effectively. Alright, Anakin said, taking a ready stance. Today we're going to see how your shadow clones stack up against Force precognition. Ready? Naruto grinned, forming the familiar hand seal. Shadow clone jutsu. 20 copies materialized in puffs of smoke, spreading out across the training room in a loose formation. Through their shared perspective, Naruto could see from 21 different angles simultaneously, a sensory advantage that had taken years to master. Anakin ignited his lightsaber, the blue blade humming to life. All at once, or... The clones attacked before he finished the sentence, converging from multiple directions with coordinated precision. Anakin moved like water, his lightsaber deflecting strikes while his body flowed through gaps in the assault that seemed to open just before he reached them. It was beautiful to watch, not the raw power Naruto was used to from ninja combat, but something more refined, more connected to the rhythm of existence itself. 3 clones dispelled under carefully placed strikes, their memories flooding back to Naruto. He processed the feedback instantly, adjusting the remaining clones' tactics. They stopped trying to overwhelm Anakin through brute force and instead began using feints, creating openings, forcing the Jedi to divide his attention. Better. Anakin called out, blocking a chakra-enhanced punch while spinning to kick another clone in the chest. You're learning to. He stopped mid-sentence, eyes widening as Naruto's original body dropped from the ceiling, a Rasengan spinning in his palm. The Jedi twisted impossibly, bringing his lightsaber up just in time. The Rasengan and plasma blade met in a shower of sparks and displaced energy. For a moment they held there, rotating energy against superheated plasma, 2 fundamentally different power systems grinding against each other. Then Naruto's technique destabilized, the chakra spiral collapsing without the proper energy density to sustain it. Naruto backflipped away, dismissing his remaining clones. Damn. Almost had you. Almost, Anakin agreed, deactivating his lightsaber. Sweat beaded on his forehead. That last attack, if your technique had held together, you would have gotten through my guard. I barely sensed it through the force in time. The Rasengan's unstable here. Naruto held up his hand, watching blue chakra flicker weakly around his palm. Back home, I could form one in less than a second. Here, it takes 3 times as long and uses twice the chakra. Something about the energy density just doesn't translate right. Ahsoka approached, offering them both water. Maybe it's because you're trying to force your chakra to work exactly like it did in your dimension. What if you adapted it? Use the ambient force energy to supplement what you're missing. I can't use the force though. You guys said so yourself, I don't have enough midichlorians or whatever. True, Anakin said thoughtfully, but that doesn't mean the force isn't affecting you. Everything in this galaxy is permeated by it. What if instead of fighting against that, you worked with it? Not using the force directly, but letting it complement your chakra. Naruto frowned, considering. Like mixing 2 different types of energy? More like harmonizing them. Think of it as. Anakin gestured vaguely, 2 instruments playing together instead of competing. It was an interesting idea. Naruto sat cross-legged on the training room floor, closing his eyes and reaching inward to his chakra network. He could feel the familiar pathways, the flow of energy that had been with him since childhood. But around it, like a vast ocean surrounding a stream, he sensed something else, the force, ambient and omnipresent, touching everything including him. Before, he'd treated them as separate. His chakra stayed inside his network, the force stayed outside. But what if that boundary was artificial? What if he could let them coexist without one overwhelming the other? He began to gather chakra in his palm, slowly forming the shell of a Rasengan. As the technique started to destabilize, instead of forcing more chakra into it, he relaxed, let the force flow through him without trying to control it. Not using it, not channeling it, just allowing it to be present alongside his own power. The Rasengan stabilized. Not perfectly, but noticeably better than before. The blue sphere of rotating chakra maintained its cohesion with less effort, drawing on something intangible to fill the gaps in its energy structure. Whoa, Ahsoka breathed. Master, are you seeing this? Anakin nodded slowly. His force senses extended. He's not using the force. But it's supporting his technique somehow, like scaffolding. Filling in where his chakra can't reach properly. Naruto opened his eyes, staring at the improved Rasengan in wonder. This is incredible. It's like my chakra finally has something to push against, some structure to work with instead of just empty space. He dismissed the technique, grinning widely. I think I can actually adapt to this place. Don't get too excited, Anakin cautioned. This is just the beginning. You'll need weeks, maybe months of practice to make it reliable. And we still don't know what'll happen if you try your more advanced techniques. Then I'd better get started. Naruto jumped to his feet, already forming hand seals. Shadow clone. An alarm blared through the temple complex, cutting him off. Red lights flashed in the corridors beyond the training room, and Anakin's comlink immediately chirped with an urgent message. General Skywalker, report to the briefing room immediately. We've received a priority distress call from the Ryloth system. Separatist forces are launching a major offensive. Anakin exchanged a quick glance with Ahsoka. Understood. On our way. He turned to Naruto. Come on. Time to see how the Republic makes war. The briefing room buzzed with activity as holographic displays showed the tactical situation unfolding in the Ryloth system. Dozens of Jedi Knights and Masters crowded around the central projector, where Admiral Yularen stood pointing out key positions with a laser pointer. The Separatists have deployed 3 Providence-class destroyers and support fleet, Yularen explained. Ground forces are overwhelming the Twi'lek defenders. If we don't act fast, Ryloth will fall within 48 hours. Their people will be enslaved, Mace Windu said grimly. The Separatists have been targeting Twi'lek populations for the slave trade. This isn't just a strategic assault, it's genocide. Naruto felt his fists clench. The casual way they discussed atrocities, as if this was just another tactical problem to solve, made his blood boil. But he kept his mouth shut, watching and learning. We'll need to break the blockade first, Anakin said, studying the display. Get troops on the ground to support the resistance. Master Windu, if you lead the space assault, Ahsoka and I can coordinate the ground operation. Agreed. We move in 2 hours. All available Jedi, prepare your battalions. As the meeting broke up and commanders rushed to their assignments, Naruto caught Anakin's arm. I want to help. Naruto. You said it yourself, if you don't act fast, those people will be enslaved or killed. I can help. My shadow clones can cover way more ground than your soldiers, and I'm pretty good in a fight. His blue eyes blazed with determination. I didn't ask to come to this galaxy, but I'm here. And I'm not going to sit in the temple while people die when I could have saved them. Anakin studied him for a long moment, then sighed. The council won't approve. Then don't ask them. You're the general, right? You can bring whoever you want into your battalion. It's not that simple. Master, Ahsoka interjected, he's right. We're stretched thin as it is. Having someone who can create dozens of soldiers at will. That's a tactical advantage we can't ignore. Anakin looked between his Padawan and the dimensional refugee who'd become an unlikely ally, weighing duty against pragmatism. Finally, he nodded. Fine. But you follow orders, stay with the main force, and if things get too hot, you pull back. Understood? Understood. Naruto's grin could have lit up the whole room. You won't regret this, I promise. I already regret it, Anakin muttered, but there was warmth in his voice. Come on. Let's get you suited up with some proper gear. Your orange jumpsuit is great for visibility, but terrible for stealth operations. As they headed toward the equipment bay, neither Anakin nor Naruto noticed Master Mace Windu watching them from across the room, his expression troubled. The dimensional refugee was becoming too comfortable, too integrated into their operations. And comfort bred complacency. But more concerning was the encrypted transmission that had reached certain council members earlier that morning. Count Dooku had specifically requested information about the Orange Warrior from Christophsis. The Separatist leader's interest in Naruto suggested complications that could ripple far beyond a simple refugee situation. The Clone Wars had just gotten infinitely more unpredictable. And across the galaxy, in a hidden fortress on Sereno, Count Dooku watched holographic footage of Naruto's shadow clones tearing through battle droids. His aged face showed nothing but calculated interest as he replayed the sequence again and again. Fascinating, he murmured. Power that exists outside the Force itself. Darth Sidious will want to know about this immediately. He reached for his encrypted communicator, beginning a transmission that would change everything. The Republic assault cruiser Resolute cut through hyperspace toward Ryloth, its hangar bays packed with clone troopers, gunships, and the nervous energy that always preceded battle. Naruto stood in the troop deployment area, wearing modified clone armor over his orange jumpsuit, a compromise that satisfied Anakin's practical concerns while letting Naruto keep his identity. The armor felt heavy and restrictive compared to his usual gear, but he'd adapt. He always did. Captain Rex approached, carrying a DC-15A blaster rifle. Ever fired one of these? Never even seen one before a few days ago. Naruto took the weapon, testing its weight. How's it work? Point, squeeze trigger, bad guys fall down. Rex demonstrated the basic firing stance. It's a particle beam weapon, superheated plasma contained in a magnetic field. Effective range about 300 meters, can punch through most light armor. Don't let the droids get close enough for melee, and you'll be fine. Naruto sighted down the barrel experimentally. What if I prefer close combat? Then you're as crazy as the general. Rex's scarred face showed what might have been approval. But having backup never hurts. Keep it charged, keep it ready. Around them, clone troopers prepared for deployment with military efficiency. Naruto watched them move, noting how they checked each other's gear, offered quiet words of encouragement, maintained weapons with practiced ease. They looked identical, same faces, same builds, same mannerisms, but as he observed, he began noticing differences. One trooper had customized his helmet with blue markings. Another carried luck tokens attached to his belt. A third hummed quietly while cleaning his rifle, a tune that was distinctly his own. They're people, Naruto said quietly. Not just soldiers. People. Rex followed his gaze. Some folks forget that. Treat us like droids with flesh. But yeah, we're people. Born to fight, trained to fight, but still people underneath the armor. Born to fight? Naruto turned to face the captain. What does that mean? Means exactly what it sounds like. We're clones, genetic copies of a bounty hunter named Jango Fett. Grown in tanks on Kamino, trained from decanting, deployed to war. It's what we were made for. Rex's tone was matter of fact, but Naruto heard something underneath it. Not quite resentment, but a question that had never been answered. That's messed up. Naruto's voice carried an edge of anger. You didn't choose this. Someone just decided you'd be soldiers and that was that. The galaxy needed an army. We're that army. Rex shrugged. Could be worse. We get to serve the Republic, fight for something that matters. Not everyone gets purpose handed to them. Purpose should be something you choose, not something forced on you. Naruto thought of his own journey, ostracized as a child, forced to prove himself every day, fighting for recognition and acceptance. But it had been his choice to become Hokage, his decision to protect the village that had rejected him. What would you do if you could choose anything? Rex was quiet for a long moment. Never really thought about it. We're bred for 7-year accelerated aging. By the time the war's over, most of us will be too old to do much else. This is our life, short as it might be. The casual acceptance of his own mortality hit Naruto like a physical blow. These men, these people, were living on borrowed time, aging twice as fast as normal humans, created specifically to die in a war they hadn't started. And they accepted it as natural, as inevitable. That's not right, Naruto said quietly. Nobody should have their whole life decided for them before they're even born. Maybe not. But it's the hand we were dealt. Rex met his eyes steadily. You play the cards you're given, soldier. Make the best of what you've got. Before Naruto could respond, Anakin's voice crackled over the ship-wide comm, all personnel, prepare for hyperspace reversion in 5 minutes. Battle stations. The hangar bay erupted into controlled chaos as troopers moved to their assigned gunships and Jedi took their positions. Naruto followed Rex toward one of the LAAT gunships, its open sides revealing rows of seats and heavy weaponry mounted on articulated arms. Stay close to me during the drop, Rex instructed. Your first time in a hot landing zone is always the worst. The droids will throw everything they have at us, anti-air fire, rocket droids, you name it. Keep your head down and trust your training. I don't really have training, Naruto admitted. Then trust your instincts. Worked for you on Christophus. The Resolute shuddered as it dropped out of hyperspace. Through the hangar's atmospheric shield, Naruto caught his first glimpse of Ryloth, a planet of rust-red badlands and deep valleys, currently shrouded in smoke from orbital bombardment. Separatist warships hung in orbit like predatory insects, their turbolaser batteries already firing at the approaching Republic fleet. All craft, launch. Anakin's command sent dozens of gunships streaming from the Resolute's hangars. Naruto gripped the seat restraints as his gunship banked hard, dodging green blaster fire that streaked past close enough to leave afterimages on his retinas. A vulture droid swooped past, its twin laser cannon stitching a line of fire across their formation. One gunship took a direct hit, exploding in a ball of flame and debris. Naruto watched clone troopers die in that instant, men he'd seen preparing minutes ago, now just scattered atoms in the upper atmosphere. Stay focused. Rex barked, seeing the shock on Naruto's face. You can mourn later. Right now, we've got a job to do. The gunship plunged toward the planet's surface, atmospheric friction making the hull scream. Anti-air fire from droid positions turned the sky into a maze of deadly geometry. Their pilot, a clone with yellow markings on his helmet, threw the craft through evasive maneuvers that would have made Naruto sick if he hadn't been raised on chakra-enhanced acrobatics. They hit the landing zone hard, repulsor lifts barely cushioning the impact. Blast doors dropped and clone troopers poured out into a battlefield that defied description. Separatist battle droids marched in formation across the valley, their blasters creating a continuous wall of fire. Droid tanks lumbered forward, their massive cannons reducing cover to rubble. In the sky, vulture droids and Republic V-19 Torrents dogfought in swirling chaos. Move, move, move. Rex led his squad toward a destroyed building that offered some cover. Naruto ran with them, his new armor restricting his movement but providing protection as blaster bolts sparked off his shoulder plates. A super battle droid stepped around the corner, its arm-mounted cannons already tracking toward Rex. Naruto moved on instinct, his body enhanced by chakra he'd been carefully conserving. He covered the distance in a blur, driving a chakra-enhanced fist into the droid's chest. Metal crumpled like paper, circuits exploding in showers of sparks. Nice hit. Rex called out, but Naruto was already moving to the next threat. 3B1 battle droids turned their weapons toward the clones. Naruto formed the hand seal he practiced 10,000 times. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 10 copies materialized, immediately spreading out and engaging the droids with a combination of taijutsu and seized droid weapons. The clones fought with the same muscle memory and combat instinct as the original, overwhelming the mechanical enemies through sheer numbers and unpredictability. From his position coordinating the northern assault, Anakin watched through macro binoculars and felt a grin spread across his face. Naruto was adapting to modern warfare with frightening speed, using his shadow clones not as a frontal assault force but as a force multiplier, supporting clone squads and covering gaps in their lines. General, the kid's doing good work out there, Ahsoka observed, her own squad holding a ridge line against droid reinforcements. Better than good. He's a natural. Anakin switched his comlink to the command frequency. Rex, push forward to objective Orek. Naruto, create a diversion on their eastern flank, draw their attention while Rex's men advance. You got it. Naruto's voice carried enthusiasm despite the chaos around him. 20 more shadow clones materialized, charging directly at a droid artillery position with reckless abandon. The droids redirected their fire, tracking the orange-clad warriors while Rex's squad advanced under covering fire. The battle raged for hours. Naruto learned quickly, too quickly, some part of him recognized, how to fight in this new kind of warfare. The rhythm was different from ninja combat, less about individual duels and more about controlling space, establishing fields of fire, coordinating with dozens of fighters simultaneously. His shadow clones gave him an unprecedented tactical advantage, letting him be everywhere at once, plugging holes in the defensive line before they could collapse. But the cost was brutal. Naruto watched clone troopers die, men who joked with him hours earlier, who'd shared ration bars and told stories about previous battles. Each death hit him harder than the last, a reminder that this wasn't a training exercise or a mission in his home dimension. This was war, real and unforgiving, where good people died for causes they barely understood. As the sun set over Rylotha's scarred landscape, the separatist forces finally retreated, falling back to secondary positions. The Republic had secured the landing zone, but at a cost. Dozens of clone troopers lay dead or wounded, medics working frantically to save those they could. Naruto dismissed his remaining shadow clones, their memories flooding back, the terror of being shot, the pain of explosions, the desperate last moments of clones who died fighting beside his duplicates. He staggered, overwhelmed by the accumulated trauma of dozens of deaths experienced secondhand. Rex caught his arm, steadying him. Easy there. First battle's always the hardest. Those men. Naruto's voice was hoarse. They were just talking to me this morning. Now they're gone. That's war. Rex's tone was gentle but firm. You did good out there. Saved a lot of lives with those clones of yours. But you can't let the deaths paralyze you. They died doing their duty. Honor that by doing yours. Their duty, Naruto repeated bitterly. A duty forced on them by a galaxy that treats them like equipment. Maybe so. But it's still all we've got. Anakin approached, his robes dusty and his face showing the strain of command. Good work, Naruto. Your shadow clones turned the tide in at least 3 critical engagements. You saved lives today. And watched people die. Naruto looked at the rows of bodies being prepared for burial. Is it always like this? Yes. Anakin's expression was grim. Welcome to the Clone Wars. This is what we do, fight, bleed, die, and hope it means something in the end. A proximity alarm suddenly blared. Sentries on the perimeter opened fire at something approaching from the Badlands. Through the settling dust, a figure materialized, tall, elegant, wrapped in a dark cloak that seemed to absorb light itself. His face was humanoid but aged, with a carefully trimmed white beard and eyes that held the weight of decades. Count Dooku had come to the battlefield personally. Well, the Sith Lord said, his cultured voice carrying easily across the no-man's land between forces. What an interesting development. The Jedi acquire a new pet, and it's not even Force-sensitive. How quaint. Anakin ignited his lightsaber, stepping forward. Dooku. You've got some nerve showing up here. Nerve? No, young Skywalker. Merely curiosity. Dooku's gaze fixed on Naruto with unnerving intensity. I've seen the reports. Shadow duplicates, energy attacks that defy Force comprehension, and a stubborn refusal to follow Jedi doctrine. Tell me, child, do you even understand the game you've stumbled into? Naruto met the Sith Lord's stare without flinching. I know enough. You're trying to conquer these people, enslave them. That makes you my enemy. Enemy? Dooku laughed, the sound cold and amused. I am trying to free the galaxy from a corrupt, bloated republic that has forgotten its purpose. The Jedi have become lapdogs to politicians who care nothing for the suffering of trillions. I offer liberation through strength. Liberation through slavery. That's not liberation, that's just replacing one tyrant with another. Spoken like someone who knows nothing of galactic politics. Dooku's smile was thin and dangerous. But your ignorance is forgivable. You're not from this galaxy, are you? I can sense it, the way reality itself seems uncertain around you, as if it hasn't quite decided whether you belong. Naruto felt a chill run down his spine. How did Dooku know? My master is very interested in you, Dooku continued. Power that exists outside the Force, that's unprecedented. Unnatural, some might say. The Jedi fear what they don't understand. I, however, see opportunity. I'm not interested in whatever you're selling. Not yet. But you will be, once you understand what the Jedi truly are. Hypocrites who preach peace while waging war. Who speak of freedom while enslaving children to their rigid dogma. Who claim to serve the Republic while that same Republic breeds slave soldiers to die in battles they never chose. Dooku's eyes flickered to the clone troopers standing ready. How many of these men died today, fighting for a cause they were literally manufactured to believe in? And the Jedi call me the villain. The words hit harder than Naruto wanted to admit. He'd been thinking the same things, feeling the same disgust at the casual way everyone accepted clone slavery as normal and necessary. Don't listen to him, Anakin warned. Everything Dooku says is poison wrapped in truth. He'll use your doubts against you. Will I? Dooku's smile widened. Or am I simply offering our young friend here a chance to see reality as it truly is? The Jedi serve a dying republic. I offer the chance to build something new, something better. Power without restriction, freedom without dogma. Freedom to do what? Kill and enslave. Naruto shook his head. I've met people like you before. Guys who talk about making a better world while standing on the corpses of everyone who disagreed with them. It never works out the way you think it will. We shall see. Dooku's expression shifted, becoming colder. I came here to take your measure, dimensional traveler. You have potential, raw, undisciplined, but potential nonetheless. When you tire of Jedi restrictions and Republic hypocrisy, seek me out. I can teach you things your new friends never will. Not interested. Famous last words. Dooku turned, his cloak swirling dramatically. Enjoy your victory today, Jedi. It will be one of your last. He paused, glancing back at Naruto. Oh, and a word of warning, my master knows about you now. And what my master wants, he inevitably acquires. Willingly or otherwise. The Sith Lord vanished into the darkness, leaving behind only questions and a creeping sense of dread. Anakin deactivated his lightsaber, tension draining from his shoulders. That was a message. Dooku doesn't show up personally unless he's making a point. What point? Naruto asked. The captured separatist command post had been converted into a temporary Republic base, its walls still scarred from the battle that had claimed it. Naruto sat outside on a chunk of rubble, watching the twin moons rise over Rylotha's ravaged landscape. Around him, clone troopers moved through their evening routines, maintaining weapons, sharing rations, checking on wounded brothers. The casual efficiency with which they processed death and moved forward unsettled him more than the battle itself had. Mind if I join you? Naruto looked up to find a clone trooper standing there, his armor marked with the distinctive blue of the 501st Legion. Unlike Rex's carefully maintained gear, this trooper's armor was covered in tally marks, each one presumably representing a confirmed droid kill. Sure. Naruto gestured to the space beside him. I'm Naruto. Fives. The clone sat down with a grunt, removing his helmet to reveal a face identical to Rex's but with a small tattoo on his right temple. You're the dimensional guy, right? The one who can make copies of himself. That's me. Neat trick. Wish I could do that, split myself up, cover twice as much ground. Fives pulled out a ration bar, breaking it in half and offering one piece to Naruto. You did good out there today. Saved a lot of brothers. Naruto took the offered food, though he had no appetite. Not enough. I watched people die. Your brothers. Yeah, that happens. Fives bit into his ration bar, chewing thoughtfully. We lose brothers every battle. Every mission. It's what we were made for. That's what Rex said. But it's wrong. Naruto's hands clenched. You talk about being made for war like it's normal. Like having your whole life decided before you're even born is just acceptable. Fives was quiet for a moment, staring at the moons. You know what the weirdest thing is? Most of us don't question it. We were decanted, trained, deployed. The Republic needed an army, so here we are. Purpose delivered on a plate. He turned to look at Naruto. But sometimes, late at night when everyone else is asleep, I wonder what it would be like to choose. To wake up one day and decide to be something other than a soldier. What would you choose? Don't know. Never had the chance to figure it out. Five smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Maybe I'd be a pilot. Or a medic. Or hell, maybe I'd open a cantina somewhere quiet and just serve drinks to people who aren't trying to kill each other. Point is, I'll never know. We age twice as fast as Natborns. By the time this war ends, I'll be lucky to see 30 biological years. If I even make it that long. The casual acceptance of his own mortality made Naruto's chest tight with anger and grief. What if there was a way to change that? To give you guys real choices? Then we'd probably take it. Five stood, putting his helmet back on. But that's not the galaxy we live in. We play the hand we're dealt, make the best of what we've got, and hope we die for something that matters. He clapped Naruto on the shoulder. Get some rest, dimensional guy. We move out at dawn. As Fives walked away, Naruto felt something crystallize in his chest, a determination that went beyond simple fighting, beyond tactical objectives. These clones deserved better. They deserved the chance to choose their own paths, to live full lives, to be more than weapons manufactured for a war they didn't start. He'd figure out how to give them that chance. Somehow. Deep thoughts. Ahsoka approached, her twin lightsabers hanging from her belt. She'd changed out of her combat gear into cleaner robes, but exhaustion still showed in the set of her shoulders. Just thinking about how messed up this whole situation is. Naruto gestured vaguely at the camp. The clones, the war, all of it. Welcome to the Clone Wars. Nothing about this is fair or right or just. Ahsoka sat down beside him, her legs dangling over the edge of the rubble. But it's what we've got. The Jedi didn't start this war, but we're trying to end it with as few casualties as possible. By leading those casualties into battle. Naruto's voice was sharper than he intended. The clones call you generals. They follow your orders, die for your strategies. Doesn't that bother you? Every single day. Ahsoka's voice was soft but steady. I'm 16 years old, Naruto. 2 years ago, I was just a Padawan learning lightsaber forms and force meditation. Now I command troops, make life or death decisions, and watch people die because of choices I make. You think I don't question it? You think I don't wake up some nights seeing the faces of every clone I've lost? Then why keep doing it? Because someone has to. Because the alternative is letting the separatists win, letting billions of innocents suffer under droid occupation. She looked at him with ancient eyes in a young face. War isn't about right versus wrong, Naruto. It's about choosing between bad options and hoping you pick the least terrible one. Naruto thought about his own world, his own wars. The Fourth Shinobi World War had united the villages against a common threat, but the cost had been staggering. Friends lost, innocents caught in crossfire, moral compromises made in the name of victory. He understood what Ahsoka was saying, but understanding didn't make it hurt less. Dooku said something today, Naruto said quietly. About the Jedi being hypocrites. Fighting for peace while waging war. Serving a republic that creates slave soldiers. He's not wrong. Ahsoka's admission surprised him. The Jedi Council knows the clones are wrong. We've debated it, argued about it, presented the ethical concerns to the Senate. But the Senate doesn't care, and without the clone army, the Republic falls. So we compromise our principles and tell ourselves we're doing it for the greater good. That sounds like something a villain would say. Maybe. Or maybe it's just what happens when you're forced to make impossible choices. She stood, offering him a hand up. Come on. Anakin wants to brief us on tomorrow's operation. We're pushing deeper into Separatist territory. The command tent was packed with officers, Jedi, and squad leaders. A holographic display showed the tactical situation. Separatist forces dug into the Kazan province, using the local Twi'lek population as human shields. Anakin stood at the head of the table, his mechanical hand gesturing toward key points on the map. The Separatists have concentrated their forces here, in the capital city. They're using the civilians as deterrents against orbital bombardment. Anakin's voice was grim. We go in on the ground, infiltrate through the underground passages, hit their command center before they can organize a defense. That's suicide, one of the clone commanders objected. The tunnels are a perfect kill zone. They'll have every entrance mined and monitored. Which is why we're not using the obvious entrances. Anakin zoomed in on a section of the map. Intelligence reports an old smuggler's route that bypasses the main defenses. It's tight, it's dangerous, but it gets us inside. And if intelligence is wrong? Rex asked. Then we improvise. Like always. Naruto studied the map, his tactical training from years of ninja missions kicking in. What about a diversion? If we hit them from two directions simultaneously, split their attention. With what forces? Anakin shook his head. We're already stretched thin. Every clone we have is committed to the main assault. Not every clone. Naruto grinned. I can make a few hundred shadow clones, have them assault the main entrance while your real forces infiltrate through the smuggler's route. The droids won't know which is the real attack until it's too late. The room fell silent as everyone processed the suggestion. Rex spoke first. That could actually work. If the droids commit to defending against the shadow clones, they'll pull forces away from the tunnels. But your clones aren't as durable as real soldiers, Ahsoka pointed out. One good hit and they dispel. So we make that work for us. Have them act reckless, draw fire, make the droids think the Republic's gotten desperate and stupid. By the time they realize it's a feint, your forces will be inside their perimeter. Anakin studied Naruto with a calculating expression. You'd be controlling hundreds of clones simultaneously, coordinating their movements while maintaining the deception. That's a massive tactical burden. I've done it before. Back home, during the war, I coordinated thousands of shadow clones across multiple battlefields. A few hundred doing a diversion. That's practically a vacation. He's confident, I'll give him that, one of the Jedi Knights muttered. Confidence backed by experience, Naruto corrected. Look, I get that you guys don't know me well. But I've fought in wars before. Led missions, coordinated teams, adapted to impossible situations. This is what I do. Anakin exchanged glances with Ahsoka and Rex, some silent communication passing between them. Finally, he nodded. All right. We go with Naruto's plan. But, he fixed Naruto with a serious stare, you pull back the moment things get too hot. Shadow clones might dispel when hit, but you only get one life. Don't waste it. Don't plan to. The briefing continued for another hour, hammering out details, contingencies, and fallback positions. As it broke up and commanders dispersed to brief their units, Anakin pulled Naruto aside. I'm trusting you with a lot here, the Jedi said quietly. More than the Council would approve of. Don't make me regret it. I won't. Naruto's voice carried absolute certainty. Those clones, your soldiers, they deserve better than being thrown into a meat grinder. If I can help give them better odds, I will. That's my ninja way. Your ninja way. Anakin smiled slightly. You know, the council's worried about you. They think you're too independent, too willing to break rules. Master Windu even suggested you might be a separatist plant. What do you think? I think you're exactly what you appear to be, a kid from another dimension trying to do the right thing in an impossibly complicated situation. And I think that scares the council more than any separatist spy ever could. Anakin clapped him on the shoulder. Get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. Naruto found a quiet corner of the base, far from the bustle of troopers and officers. He sat cross-legged, closing his eyes and reaching inward to his chakra reserves. The battle had depleted him more than he'd expected, not just the physical drain, but the emotional cost of absorbing memories from dozens of shadow clones experiencing combat and death. He'd need to be smarter about it. Use fewer clones but more effectively. Coordinate better with the clone troopers' tactics. And most importantly, he needed to finish adapting his techniques to work properly in this dimension. Naruto began to gather chakra, but this time he didn't fight against the ambient force energy. Instead, he let it flow through him, around him, supporting his chakra network like Anakin had suggested. It was strange, not using the force, but being used by it, allowing himself to become a conduit for energy that wasn't quite his own. The Rasengan that formed in his palm was stronger than any he'd managed since arriving. Not perfect, not quite up to his usual standards, but getting there. With practice, with time, he might be able to use even his advanced techniques. If he had time. Dooku's warning echoed in his mind, his master knows about you now. Whoever that was, whatever they wanted, Naruto had a feeling his relative peace in this galaxy was about to end. But that was tomorrow's problem. Tonight, he had a mission to prepare for and people to protect. Naruto opened his eyes, looking up at Rylotha's twin moons hanging in the alien sky. Somewhere out there was his home dimension, his friends, his dream of becoming Hokage. But right now, right here, he had a different responsibility. These clones deserved a champion. Someone who'd fight not just for victory, but for their right to be treated as people rather than property. And Naruto Uzumaki never backed down from protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. Alright, he murmured to the empty air. Let's show this galaxy what a ninja can do. Dawn broke over Ryloth in shades of crimson and gold, painting the Badlands in colors that reminded Naruto of autumn in the land of fire. But there was no time for nostalgia. 200 shadow clones stood in formation before him, each one a perfect copy wearing clone trooper armor they'd scavenged from damaged supplies. The real clone troopers watched with fascination and unease as Naruto walked down the line, making final adjustments to his plan. Alright, listen up. Naruto's voice carried to all his duplicates simultaneously, an odd sensation of talking to himself while being himself in 200 places at once. Our job is simple. Be loud, be obvious, and make the separatists think we're the entire Republic assault. Draw every droid, every gun, every bit of attention to the main gate. The longer they focus on us, the more time the real soldiers have to get inside through the tunnels. One of his clones raised a hand. What if they realize we're fakes? Then we make them regret figuring it out. Naruto grinned. We're not trying to win this fight. We're trying to be the biggest, most annoying distraction this side of the galaxy. Now move out. The Shadow Clone Army dispersed in organized chaos, spreading across the approach to the separatist-held capital. From his vantage point on a ridge overlooking the city, Anakin watched through macro binoculars as orange-armored figures took positions behind cover, set up makeshift firing positions, and generally made themselves as visible as possible. He's really doing it, Ahsoka breathed beside him. Controlling 200 clones at once. And making it look easy. Anakin lowered the macro binoculars. Rex, take your men through the smuggler's entrance. Move fast, stay quiet, and hit them before they know you're there. Yes, sir. Rex signaled his squad, and they melted into the canyon system that would lead them under the city's defenses. Anakin turned to Naruto's original body, which stood nearby preparing for its own role. You sure about this? Coordinating that many clones while staying combat ready yourself? I've fought a literal god while managing 1,000 clones. Naruto checked his borrowed blaster rifle one more time. This is just Tuesday for me. Your Tuesdays are insane. You should see my Saturdays. A comm signal chirped. Rex's squad was in position at the tunnel entrance. Anakin took a breath, reaching out through the force to sense the battlefield, the ebb and flow of life and intention. Everything was aligned. All units, commence operation. Naruto, light them up. Through 200 pairs of eyes, Naruto saw the separatist defenses from every angle simultaneously. Droid patrols on the walls, spider droids positioned at key intersections, vulture droids on standby at the landing platforms. The city was a fortress, and they were about to kick the hornet's nest. Fire, he shouted through 200 mouths. The shadow clones opened up with everything they had, blaster rifles, grenades, even a few commandeered droid weapons. The barrage was more noise than accuracy, but that was the point. Alarm klaxons immediately blared across the city as droids rushed to defensive positions, tracking the sudden assault. All battle units, Sector 7 under attack, a tactical droid's voice echoed through the streets. Concentrate fire, eliminate hostiles. Blaster fire poured down from the walls, a storm of superheated plasma that would have annihilated a real assault force. Shadow clones exploded into smoke as bolts found their marks, but more rushed forward to take their places. Naruto felt each dispelling like a distant echo, brief pain, confusion, then nothing as the clones' experiences flooded back to him. He processed the information with practiced ease, adjusting tactics on the fly. Clones on the left flank were taking too much fire, pull back, find better cover. The eastern approach had a blind spot in the droid coverage, exploit it, push harder. Spider droids were deploying to reinforce the main gate, have a squad focus fire on their legs, slow them down. Inside the command center, the separatist tactical coordinator, a more advanced droid with gold plating, studied the holographic display with algorithmic confusion. This does not compute. Republic forces are attacking our most heavily defended position with minimal heavy weapon support. Tactical analysis suggests this is either gross incompetence or a diversion, a cold voice interrupted. Count Dooku emerged from the shadows of the command center, his presence immediately commanding the room. The droids swiveled to face him, their programming recognizing separatist authority. Lord Dooku, the tactical droid acknowledged. We did not expect your presence. Clearly. Dooku studied the display with calculating eyes. Focus sensors on the underground tunnel network. If I know Skywalker, and I do, he's using this obvious assault to mask an infiltration. Scanning, confirmed. Republic forces detected in smuggler tunnels, Section 12. Estimated squad size, 40 clone troopers, 2 Jedi. Collapse the tunnels. Bury them alive. Dooku's smile was thin and cruel. And dispatch my special unit to deal with the dimensional traveler. It's time to test his abilities properly. Outside, Naruto's clones continued their assault, now 50 strong after casualties. He felt the strain of maintaining so many simultaneous perspectives, but pushed through it. Back home, he'd managed far worse, this was just a matter of focus and determination. Then something changed. Through the eyes of a clone on the eastern approach, Naruto saw them, not battle droids, but humanoid figures in dark armor that seemed to drink in light. They moved with purpose and grace that no droid possessed, their weapons humming with a frequency that made his teeth ache even through the shadow-clone connection. What the hell are those? He muttered. One of the dark figures raised its weapon, not a blaster, but something that crackled with red energy. It fired, and the bolt that struck Naruto's clone didn't just dispel it. The clone screamed before exploding, and the feedback hit Naruto's original body like a physical blow. Pain unlike anything he'd experienced through shadow clone dispelling, not just the memory of being hit, but something deeper, something that tried to claw at his very chakra network. Naruto. Ahsoka caught him as he staggered. What happened? Those aren't droids. Naruto gritted his teeth against the lingering pain. They're something else. Something that can hurt my clones in a way that affects the original. Anakin's eyes widened. Force-imbued weapons. Dooku must have deployed dark side assassins. They use the Force to enhance their attacks, make them more lethal against living targets. Well, that's just cheating. Naruto straightened, shoving down the pain. Through his remaining clones, he watched the dark figures cut through his forces with terrifying efficiency. Each clone they destroyed sent feedback pain through his network, wearing him down methodically. But he'd faced worse. He'd fought Obito, Madara, Kaguya, opponents who could kill him with a touch, who could rewrite reality itself. A few dark side assassins. That was just another challenge. Original body going in, Naruto announced, forming the hand seal. Shadow clone jutsu, military rations version. 100 more clones materialized, but these were different, denser, more stable, carrying more of his chakra per copy. It meant he couldn't make as many, but each one was significantly stronger. They charged the dark assassins with coordinated precision, not as a mob but as a tactical unit. Naruto himself leaped from the ridge, chakra-enhanced legs carrying him in a parabolic arc that would be impossible for normal humans. He landed in the midst of battle, his arrival marked by a small crater and displaced dust. 20 shadow clones converged on his position, forming a protective perimeter as he advanced. The dark assassins turned their attention to him, recognizing the original through whatever force senses they possessed. Their leader, distinguished by red markings on black armor, pointed directly at Naruto. The master wants him alive. The assassin's voice was synthesized, inhuman. Break him, but do not kill. Good luck with that. Naruto's hands blurred through seals. Wind style, gale palm. A compressed blast of wind chakra, supplemented by the ambient force energy he'd learned to work with, exploded outward. The assassins scattered, their superhuman reflexes barely keeping them ahead of the attack. But Naruto was already moving, his shadow clones engaging in coordinated taijutsu that would have made his sensei Kakashi proud. In the tunnels beneath the city, Rex and his squad moved through darkness, their helmet lamps cutting through the gloom. Ahead, Anakin and Ahsoka led the way, lightsabers ignited to provide additional light and protection against whatever they might encounter. "Sir, we're approaching the main junction," Rex reported. "Should be directly under the command center in about." The tunnel ceiling exploded inward. Tons of stone and durasteel collapsed, separating Anakin and Ahsoka from the clone squad in a thunderous avalanche. Rex threw himself backward, barely avoiding being crushed. "General," he shouted into the dust and darkness, but his comlink only returned static. Something was jamming their communications. On the surface, Naruto felt the shift in battlefield dynamics through his clones. The separatist forces were pulling back from the main gate, redirecting to there. A massive deployment of droids converging on a section of ground that had to be directly above where Rex's squad was trapped. No, no, no. Naruto dispelled half his remaining clones to free up chakra, then gathered it for his most powerful technique. The problem was his Rasengan still wasn't quite stable in this dimension. And the enhanced version he needed would require absolute focus. But his friends were in danger. Rex, Anakin, Ahsoka, people who trusted him, helped him, treated him like a person rather than a weapon. He'd promised himself he'd protect them. Time to keep that promise. Naruto's hands came together, chakra swirling between his palms in a dense sphere. Blue energy mixed with something else, the Force, flowing through him without his conscious direction, supporting his technique in ways he didn't fully understand. The Rasengan grew, stabilized, and then began to evolve. Big Ball Rasengan. The technique was 3 times normal size, crackling with combined energies. Naruto charged the Dark Assassins, using his shadow clones as stepping stones to launch himself over their formation. They fired their force-imbued weapons, but his clones intercepted, buying him precious seconds. He hit the ground behind their line and kept running, heading straight for the collapsed tunnel section where hundreds of droids were converging. His remaining shadow clones followed, forming a wedge formation that bulldozed through any droid foolish enough to block their path. Out of the way! Naruto roared, and slammed the big ball Rasengan into the ground directly above where he sensed Rex's squad. The rotating sphere of chakra and force energy drilled through layers of rubble and collapsed ceiling, boring a hole down into the trapped tunnel below. Light flooded the darkness. Rex looked up to see an orange-clad figure silhouetted against the Ryloth sky, grinning like a maniac. "Need a lift? You beautiful crazy kid." Rex started organizing his men. "Move, move. Up through the hole before they seal it." Clone troopers scrambled up the makeshift exit, using climbing gear and pure adrenaline to escape their tomb. Naruto's shadow clones provided covering fire, keeping the droids at bay. But the Dark Assassins were closing in, and Naruto could feel his chakra reserves depleting rapidly. He'd pushed too hard, used too much too fast. Worth it, though. Every clone trooper that made it out alive was worth it. The last trooper cleared the hole just as the assassins arrived. Their leader leveled its weapon at Naruto, red energy crackling ominously. "You have caused considerable disruption, dimensional traveler. The master will be pleased to study you." "Yeah. Tell your master he can." Naruto's defiant response was cut off as pain exploded through his chest. Not from the assassin in front of him, but from behind. He looked down to see red energy piercing through his torso. One of the other assassins had gotten behind him during the rescue. The world tilted. Naruto hit the ground hard, his vision blurring. Through fading consciousness, he saw Rex and the clones returning fire, saw more Republic forces arriving to support them. Saw the Dark Assassins retreating, their mission apparently complete. And through it all, one thought dominated: I kept my promise. They're safe. Then darkness claimed him, and Naruto Uzumaki knew nothing more. Naruto woke to the antiseptic smell of Bacta and the rhythmic beeping of medical monitors. His chest ached with a deep, persistent throb that spoke of serious injury barely healed. For a moment, disorientation clouded his thoughts. Where was he? What happened? Then memory crashed back: the battle, the rescue, the Dark Assassin's weapon piercing through him. He tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Pain lanced through his torso, forcing him back down with a gasp. "Easy there, hero." A medical droid hovered into view, its optical sensors glowing a calming blue. "You sustained severe trauma to your thoracic cavity. The Bacta treatment has accelerated healing, but you are far from recovered." "How long?" Naruto's voice came out raspy. 36 hours. Your physiology is unusual. The wound should have been fatal, but your body's healing factor, this chakra you possess, worked in tandem with our medical technology. Fascinating, really. I've never seen cellular regeneration operate on such principles. The door to the medical bay slid open, admitting Anakin, Ahsoka, and Captain Rex. Relief flooded their faces when they saw Naruto conscious. "You're awake," Ahsoka said, moving to his bedside. "We were worried. That weapon the assassins used, it was designed to disrupt life force at a fundamental level. Most people don't survive a direct hit. Most people don't have a giant fox demon's chakra accelerating their healing," Naruto muttered, then caught himself. He hadn't meant to reveal that particular detail. Anakin's eyebrow rose. What now?" "Long story. Very long story involving ancient evil, ninja politics, and a lot of ramen." Naruto managed a weak grin. "Maybe I'll tell you sometime when I'm not feeling like I got hit by a freight train." "You saved my men," Rex said quietly, his scarred face showing rare emotion. That tunnel collapse would have buried us. The droids were moving in to finish us off. You punched through solid rock and held off those assassins long enough for us to escape. That's not something I'll forget. Just doing what any ninja would do. Protect your comrades, no matter what. Naruto's expression grew serious. Did we win? The mission? The mission was a success, Anakin confirmed. While you kept the separatists occupied topside, we managed to destroy their command center. They've pulled back from Ryloth entirely. The Twi'leks are free. He paused. But we need to talk about what happened out there. The tone in Anakin's voice made Naruto's stomach sink. What do you mean? Those assassins, they were sent specifically for you. Dooku deployed them to test your capabilities, to gather intelligence on how you fight, what your limits are. Anakin's expression was troubled. They could have killed you easily with that final strike, but they didn't. They wounded you precisely enough to incapacitate without killing. That was deliberate. They wanted to capture me. Or send a message, Ahsoka interjected. Showing they can hurt you whenever they want. That you're vulnerable. Naruto processed this, his mind working through the implications. Back in his world, enemies had targeted him for the nine tails sealed inside him, seeing him as a weapon to be captured or destroyed. Here, in this alien galaxy, he was being hunted for different reasons, his dimensional origin, his non-force powers, his unpredictability in the carefully orchestrated war. Dooku mentioned his master, Naruto said slowly. Who is that? The three exchanged uncomfortable glances. Finally, Anakin spoke. We don't know. Dooku turned to the dark side years ago, left the Jedi Order, and began building the separatist movement. But he's clearly taking orders from someone more powerful, a Sith Lord we've never identified. Master Yoda believes there's a grand plan at work, that this war itself serves some purpose we don't fully understand. A puppet master pulling strings. Naruto's hands clenched the medical bed sheets. I've dealt with those before. They're always the worst kind of enemy, the ones who manipulate from the shadows, turning good people against each other. Exactly. Anakin sat on the edge of the bed, his mechanical hand whirring softly as it gestured. Which is why the Council is concerned. You're an unknown variable in whatever game this hidden Sith is playing. Your presence here might be random chance, or it might be part of something larger. Either way, you've attracted attention from the worst possible source. So what do we do? The Council wants you back on Coruscant. Under guard this time, not just as a guest. Anakin's voice carried reluctance. They're talking about restricting your movements, assigning constant supervision, possibly even keeping you in the temple until they can figure out how to send you home. They want to lock me up. Naruto's voice went flat. Keep me controlled and contained where I can't cause problems. They want to protect you, Ahsoka corrected, but even she sounded uncertain. And protect the Republic from whatever interest the Sith have in you. By making me a prisoner. Naruto forced himself to sit up despite the pain, meeting Anakin's eyes. I've been treated like a threat my whole life because of something I couldn't control. People feared me, isolated me, tried to use me as a weapon or lock me away for everyone's safety. I'm not going through that again. Not here, not anywhere. Naruto. No. His voice carried absolute conviction. I came to this galaxy by accident, but since I've been here, I've helped people. I've fought to protect your soldiers, saved lives, proved that I'm on your side. And now because some Sith Lord is interested in me, I'm supposed to just accept being imprisoned. That's not happening. Rex stepped forward. The men of the 501st signed a petition. Every clone who fought on Ryloth. They're requesting that you be assigned to our battalion permanently, given field commission as a special operative. He pulled out a data pad, handing it to Naruto. We don't care what the Council thinks. You're one of us now. You bled for us. That means something. Naruto looked at the datapad, seeing hundreds of names, clones who'd fought beside him, who'd witnessed his sacrifice. Emotion tightened his throat. These men, bred to be disposable soldiers, were standing up for him. Claiming him as one of their own. The council won't approve this, Anakin said quietly. But I'm going to submit it anyway. Along with my own recommendation that you remain in active service. He smiled slightly. I've never been great at following orders I don't agree with. Master, if we do this, we're directly defying the council, Ahsoka warned. Yeah, I know. Won't be the first time. Anakin's expression hardened with determination. The council is afraid. I get it, an unknown power that the Sith want to control is scary. But imprisoning someone who's risked his life for the Republic? That's how you create enemies, not allies. Naruto's proven where he stands. I'm not going to let fear turn us into jailers. The medical bay door opened again, and Master Plo Koon entered, his breathing mask hiding most of his expression. The atmosphere immediately tensed. Had he heard their conversation? Would he report their plans to the council? I could not help but overhear, Plo Koon said, his voice carrying its usual calm authority. He approached Naruto's bed, studying the young ninja with thoughtful eyes. The council is indeed concerned about you, Naruto Uzumaki. Master Windu advocates for strict containment. Master Yoda is uncertain. The others are divided. And you? Naruto asked. I believe the Force brought you to our galaxy for a reason. Whether by accident or design, you are here, and your actions speak to your character. Plo Koon's eyes crinkled in what might have been a smile. The clones call you brother. General Skywalker trusts you. And you nearly died protecting Republic soldiers. These things matter more than fear of what might happen. You'll support letting him stay active? Anakin asked cautiously. I will present an alternative to the council, assign young Naruto to my own unit as a liaison and special operative. He remains in the field where his abilities serve the Republic, but under Jedi supervision. Plo Koon turned back to Naruto. You would have your freedom, but you would need to accept guidance and oversight. Can you do that? Naruto considered. It wasn't perfect, he'd still be watched, his actions monitored. But it was infinitely better than imprisonment. And Plo Koon had shown him nothing but respect since they'd met. If he had to accept supervision, this particular Jedi seemed like someone he could work with. Yeah, Naruto said finally. I can do that. But I need something in return. Name it. Information. About the clones, their aging, their lack of rights, the way the Republic treats them as property. Naruto's voice gained intensity. And I want to help change it. These men deserve better than being disposable soldiers. If I'm going to fight in this war, I fight for them too. Their freedom, their future. That's my condition. Silence filled the medical bay. It was a bold demand, a dimensional refugee with no political standing asking to influence Republic policy on one of its most controversial issues. But Plo Koon didn't dismiss it outright. That is a complicated matter, the Jedi Master said slowly. Many have tried to address clone rights. The Senate is resistant to change that would acknowledge the moral implications of creating a slave army. Then we find another way. I'm not asking for immediate change, I know that's not realistic. But I want to work toward it. Research it. Find allies who care about giving these men real choices. Naruto looked at Rex. They deserve that much. Rex's expression was unreadable behind his helmet, but his voice carried emotion. Sir, we're just soldiers. We don't expect. That's exactly the problem. Naruto interrupted. You've been conditioned to not expect anything, to accept whatever the galaxy gives you. But your people. You deserve the same rights, the same chances, the same respect as anyone else. And I'm going to fight for that whether anyone helps me or not. Plo Koon was quiet for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Your passion is admirable. Very well, I will support your assignment to active service under my supervision, and I will assist you in researching clone rights issues. But, his tone became firm, you must understand this is dangerous ground politically. Making too much noise too quickly could backlash against the very people you're trying to help. I understand. I'll be smart about it. Naruto met the Jedi's eyes. But I won't stop. That's my ninja way, protect those who can't protect themselves, and never give up no matter how impossible it seems. A noble philosophy. PLO-kun turned to leave, then paused at the door. One more thing, the assassins who wounded you. We've identified them through intelligence reports. They're called the Shadow Guard, elite dark side users trained specifically to hunt Jedi and other Force sensitives. That they were deployed against you suggests you are now considered a priority target by the Sith. Great, Naruto muttered. Because this situation wasn't complicated enough. Indeed. Which is why accepting oversight is crucial, not just for the Council's peace of mind, but for your own survival. The Sith are patient, cunning, and utterly without mercy. They will study you, learn your weaknesses, and strike when you least expect it. PLO-kun's voice carried weight. Do not face them alone. That way lies only death. After the Jedi Master left, Anakin let out a breath. Well, that went better than expected. PLO-kun supporting you is huge, he has influence with the Council that I don't. Why did he agree? Naruto asked. I'm still a risk, still an unknown. Because he's one of the few Council members who believes in adapting to circumstances rather than rigidly following protocol. Anakin smiled. Also, he fought beside clone troopers more than most Jedi. He understands their value as individuals, not just military assets. Your stance on clone rights probably resonated with him. So what happens now? Now you heal. The medics say another day in Bacta and you should be good for light duty. Ahsoka pulled up a chair, settling in. And we figure out what to do about the Sith knowing your capabilities. They saw you fight, saw your techniques. Next time they come for you, they'll be prepared. Then I'll just have to get stronger. Naruto's grin returned, though it carried an edge now. I haven't even begun showing this galaxy what I can really do. Shadow clones and Rasengan. That's basic stuff. Wait until I figure out how to use Sage Mode here. Sage Mode? Rex asked. A technique that lets me gather natural energy and enhance all my abilities to insane levels. Super strength, super speed, enhanced perception, and way more powerful jutsu. Naruto's expression grew thoughtful. The problem is it requires perfect stillness to gather the energy, and the natural energy here feels different from home. I haven't been able to tap into it yet. The Force, Anakin murmured. What you're calling natural energy, that might be your way of perceiving the Force. Not using it like we do, but channeling it through your chakra system. Maybe. If I could figure it out, I'd be way more effective in battle. Naruto lay back down, exhaustion catching up with him. But that's a problem for tomorrow. Right now, I just want to sleep. Get some rest, brother, Rex said, standing to leave. The 501st will be waiting when you're ready. As his friends filed out, leaving him alone with his thoughts and the steady beeping of medical equipment, Naruto stared at the ceiling. He'd survived the battle, earned the loyalty of the clones, and secured a measure of freedom to continue helping in this war. But the Sith's interest complicated everything. Somewhere out there, a hidden enemy was planning, calculating, figuring out how to use him or eliminate him. Naruto had faced impossible odds before. He'd fought opponents who could reshape reality, who commanded godlike powers, who seemed utterly unbeatable. And he'd won, not always through strength, but through determination, creativity, and refusing to give up no matter how bad things got. This would be no different. The Sith might be powerful, might have centuries of dark knowledge and manipulation on their side. But they'd never faced Naruto Uzumaki and his absolutely unbreakable will. "Bring it on," he whispered to the empty room. "I'll show you what happens when you mess with a ninja." The Senate building on Coruscant gleamed in the afternoon sun, its massive rotunda housing 1,000 floating platforms where representatives from across the galaxy debated policy, declared wars, and shaped the fate of trillions. Naruto had never felt more out of place. He stood beside Master Plo Koon in an observation alcove, watching Supreme Chancellor Palpatine address the assembly. The man was unremarkable at first glance, elderly, grandfatherly even, with kind eyes and a patient smile. But something about him made Naruto's instincts scream danger. It was subtle, barely noticeable, but his years of combat experience had taught him to trust those instincts. "The war continues to test us," Palpatine's voice carried across the chamber, amplified by sophisticated acoustics. "But we must remain steadfast in our commitment to peace and security. The Jedi and our brave clone army fight valiantly, but we need additional measures, expanded executive powers to respond quickly to separatist threats." Scattered applause erupted from certain platforms. Others remained silent, their representatives clearly uncomfortable with granting more authority to the Chancellor. "Why does he need more power?" Naruto asked quietly. "Emergency wartime legislation," Plo Koon explained. "Each crisis allows the Chancellor to expand his authority temporarily. But somehow, those temporary powers never quite get returned once the crisis passes. That's how dictators are born," Naruto muttered, remembering history lessons from the academy. "Give someone emergency power during war, and they'll find reasons to keep it when peace comes." A perceptive observation. "Many senators share your concern, but they are drowned out by those who profit from the war or genuinely fear the separatist threat." Plo Koon gestured toward Palpatine. "The Chancellor requested to meet you personally. He's curious about our dimensional visitor." That danger instinct intensified. "Do I have to?" Refusing would be politically unwise. He is the head of state, after all. Plo Koon's tone suggested he shared Naruto's discomfort. "But I will accompany you. Say as little as necessary, be respectful, and we will leave quickly." After the Senate session ended, they were escorted to Palpatine's private office, a vast circular chamber with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Coruscant's endless cityscape. The Chancellor stood with his back to them, hands clasped behind his back in a pose of contemplation. "Ah, Master Plo Koon. And this must be young Naruto Uzumaki." Palpatine turned, his smile warm and welcoming. "I've heard such remarkable things about you. A visitor from another dimension, how extraordinary." "Chancellor," Naruto nodded, keeping his voice neutral. Up close, that sense of wrongness intensified. It was like looking at a mask with something else underneath, something ancient and patient and utterly cold. "Please, sit." Palpatine gestured to chairs. "I simply had to meet the young man who's caused such a stir. Saving clone troopers, fighting separatist forces, challenging Count Dooku himself. You've accomplished quite a lot in a very short time." "Just trying to help where I can, sir." "Noble. Very noble." Palpatine settled into his own chair, studying Naruto with eyes that seemed to see too much. "Tell me about your home. This dimension you come from, what was it like?" Naruto gave a carefully edited version, describing the Hidden Leaf Village and the ninja system without mentioning anything too specific about his powers or the tailed beasts. Palpatine listened attentively, asking occasional questions that seemed innocent but probed deeper than casual curiosity warranted. "Fascinating," the Chancellor murmured when Naruto finished. "A world without the Force, yet with its own system of power. And you command this chakra with great skill, I understand. The Jedi must find you quite the enigma. They've been welcoming, mostly." "Mostly." Palpatine's smile widened slightly. "Yes, the Jedi Council can be cautious with what they don't understand. They claim to serve the Republic, yet they maintain their own hierarchy, their own secrets. Tell me, Naruto, do you find their restrictions burdensome? The question felt like a trap. They're just being careful. Can't blame them for that. Of course, of course. But surely someone with your independent spirit must chafe under constant supervision. Palpatine leaned forward slightly. I've read Master Skywalker's reports. You questioned the use of clone soldiers, challenged the Council on matters of ethics. You're not content to simply follow orders, you think for yourself. That's admirable. I just believe people should have choices, Naruto said carefully. The clones deserve better than being treated as property. I couldn't agree more. Palpatine's expression became sympathetic. The clone situation troubles me deeply. But the Senate is paralyzed by bureaucracy and special interests. Change requires decisive action. Someone willing to cut through the red tape and do what's right, regardless of political consequences. Someone like you. Perhaps. Or perhaps someone like you, young Naruto. An outsider's perspective can often see solutions that those of us trapped in the system cannot. Palpatine sat back, his tone becoming grandfatherly. I want you to know my door is always open. If you ever need assistance, political support for clone rights, resources for your research, protection from those who might see you as a threat, you need only ask. Every word sounded reasonable, generous even. But Naruto's instincts screamed not to trust this man. There was something underneath the kind facade, something that reminded him of Orochimaru's false smiles and Danzo's manipulative offers of power. That's very kind of you, Chancellor, Naruto said, keeping his voice polite. I'll keep that in mind. Please do. Palpatine stood, signaling the meeting's end. Master Plo-kun, thank you for bringing our young friend. I have every confidence he'll prove a valuable asset to the Republic. As they left the office and entered the elevator, Naruto felt tension he hadn't realized he was carrying drain away. Plo-kun remained silent until they were in the speeder heading back to the Jedi Temple. You felt it too, the Jedi Master said quietly. That guy is wrong, Naruto confirmed. I don't know how, but something about him, it's like he's wearing a mask, pretending to be something he's not. The Council has discussed this. Chancellor Palpatine has proven an effective leader during the war, but his accumulation of power concerns many. Yet we can find no evidence of wrongdoing, only feelings, instincts. Plo-kun's tone was troubled. The Force is clouded around him. We cannot see his intentions clearly. What if he's connected to the Sith somehow? Dooku's mysterious master. That has been considered. But Palpatine has been a fixture of Senate politics for decades, publicly opposing separatist aggression at every turn. If he were secretly leading the separatists, it would require a level of deception beyond anything we've encountered. The best lies are the ones that look like truth, Naruto said quietly. Back home, we had a guy, Obito, who orchestrated an entire war while pretending to be dead. Created false identities, manipulated nations, played both sides against each other. Sometimes the most obvious answer is the right one, even if it seems impossible. Plo-kun was silent for a long moment. You have given me much to think about. I will bring your concerns to Master Yoda. But Naruto, be very careful. If your instincts are correct and the Chancellor is somehow involved with the Sith, openly opposing him would be extremely dangerous. I'm not planning to do anything stupid. We need to be careful around him. Not trust him too easily. Naruto looked out at the Coruscant skyline. He offered to help with clone rights. That should be good, but it felt wrong. Like he was trying to hook me, get me to owe him something. Wise beyond your years. Plo-kun guided the speeder toward the temple landing platform. Come. You have a training session with Commander Wolf's squad. They're eager to work with your shadow clone techniques. The next 2 weeks fell into a demanding but satisfying rhythm. Naruto trained with clone battalions, teaching them how to coordinate with shadow clone tactics. He studied galactic basic more seriously, improving his reading and understanding of Republic regulations. And he began carefully researching clone rights, talking to sympathetic senators and gathering information about the Kaminoan cloning program. What he learned made his blood boil. The clones weren't just soldiers, they were property, owned by the Republic and the Kaminoans. They had no legal rights, no citizenship, no future beyond war. If they survived, they'd age out in less than a decade and be discarded like broken equipment. The Republic that claimed to fight for freedom had built its defense on slavery so normalized that most citizens never questioned it. But there were dissenters. Senator Padme Amidala of Naboo had been quietly pushing clone rights legislation for months, blocked at every turn by military lobbyists and corporate interests. When Naruto met her, a coincidental encounter at the temple during a diplomatic function, he immediately liked her direct manner and genuine compassion. "The clones are people," she said firmly, standing on a temple balcony overlooking the city. "They feel, think, dream just like anyone else. But the Senate treats them as military assets. Every time I try to introduce legislation granting them citizenship or basic rights, it gets buried in committee." "What would happen if the war ended?" Naruto asked. "Where would they go?" "That's the question no one wants to answer." Padme's expression was grim. "The Kaminoans designed them with accelerated aging. Most clones will be biologically 50 or 60 within a few years of the war ending. Who takes care of aging veterans with no family, no resources, no legal identity? So they'll be abandoned. Unless we change the system." Padme turned to him. "Master Plo-kun told me about your interest in this issue. I could use an ally, especially someone the clones respect. If we work together, carefully build support." "I'm in," Naruto said immediately. "Whatever you need. These men fought beside me, bled beside me. I'm not going to let them be thrown away." Their plotting was interrupted by an urgent comm from Anakin. "Naruto, get to the briefing room now. We've got a situation." The briefing room was packed with Jedi and clone commanders, all focused on a holographic display showing a remote system near Separatist space. Admiral Yularen stood at the center, his expression grave. 3 hours ago, a Republic research station in the Zaja system went dark. All communications ceased simultaneously. Yularen highlighted the station on the display. "We sent a probe. This is what it found." The hologram shifted to show the research station, or what remained of it. The facility was torn apart, its modules scattered across space like a child's broken toy. But the damage pattern was wrong, inconsistent with typical weapons. It looked like something had pulled the station apart from the inside out. "What kind of weapon does that?" Ahsoka asked. "Unknown. But we detected unusual energy signatures, consistent with force manipulation on a massive scale." Yularen's voice was tight. The station was studying a force-sensitive artifact recovered from an ancient Sith world. "We believe someone came to retrieve it." Count Dooku, Mace Windu stated grimly. "Possibly. Or his master." Yularen pulled up additional data. But here's where it gets interesting. The station's final transmission included a brief visual, someone dressed in dark robes, wielding red lightning that matched the energy signature from the station's destruction. The individual's power level exceeded anything we've previously recorded from Dooku. The room fell silent. A Sith more powerful than Dooku meant one thing: they'd finally found evidence of the mysterious master, the puppet master behind the separatist movement and the war itself. "We need to investigate," Anakin said. "Find out what they took, why they wanted it." "Agreed," Mace said. "But this is clearly a trap. They left the probe intact deliberately. They want us to come. Then we go carefully." Anakin looked at Naruto. "And we bring overwhelming force. If this is the Sith Master, we'll need every advantage." Naruto felt a chill run down his spine. Something about this felt wrong, not just dangerous, but purposefully arranged. Like pieces moving into position on a game board he couldn't quite see. "When do we leave?" he asked. 2 hours. Gather your gear and prepare for extended combat operations. Anakin's expression was hard. This is it, people. We finally get a chance at the real enemy. Let's not waste it. As the briefing broke up and commanders rushed to prepare, Naruto stood staring at the holographic wreckage. Red lightning, massive force power, an artifact from a Sith world. And the timing, right after Palpatine's interest in him, right after Dooku's warning about his master. This wasn't coincidence. This was orchestration. Someone was setting up the next move in a game Naruto was only beginning to understand. And his instincts, honed by years of fighting manipulative enemies, screamed that they were walking directly into a trap designed specifically to catch him. But he couldn't not go. If there was a chance to stop the Sith Master, to end this war sooner and save countless lives, he had to take it. Even if it meant risking everything. Naruto. Plo-kun approached, his breathing mask making his expression difficult to read. I sense your apprehension. Trust your instincts, if this feels like a trap, it likely is. I know. But we still have to go, right? Yes. But go prepared. The Jedi Master placed a hand on his shoulder. You have grown much in these past weeks. Learn to coordinate your power with our tactics, adapted to our galaxy's nature. But remember, the Sith are masters of manipulation. They will use your strength against you, twist your values, exploit your bonds with the clones. Be vigilant. I will. Naruto managed a confident grin. Besides, I've got something they don't expect. I'm still learning, still adapting. Every day I figure out more about how chakra works in this galaxy. If they think they've got me figured out based on what they saw on Ryloth, they're in for a surprise. That confidence will serve you well. Or doom you. Plo-kun's tone was impossible to read. Either way, may the Force be with you. And with you. As Naruto headed to his quarters to prepare, he couldn't shake the feeling that everything was coming to a head. The Sith Master, Palpatine's suspicious interest, the clone's uncertain future, his own role in this galaxy, all of it was converging towards some critical point. He just hoped he'd be ready when it arrived. The Resolute dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Zaja system, accompanied by 2 smaller cruisers and a full complement of fighters. Through the viewports, the wreckage of the research station hung like a monument to violence, its twisted metal catching starlight in jagged reflections. Naruto stood in the hangar bay with the assault team, Anakin, Ahsoka, Plo-kun, Rex, and 2 squads of elite clone troopers. They wore full combat gear and carried enough firepower to level a city block. It wouldn't be enough if the Sith Master was waiting for them, but it was what they had. Scan shows no life signs on the station, the pilot reported over comms. But there's a massive energy signature in the central lab module, off the charts for normal equipment. The artifact, Mace Windu's voice crackled from Coruscant. Retrieve it if possible, but priority is gathering intelligence on who attacked the station. Do not engage if you encounter the Sith Lord directly. Retreat and report. Understood, Anakin replied, though his tone suggested he had no intention of running from a fight. He turned to the assault team. Stay sharp, watch each other's backs, and remember, Sith love psychological warfare. Don't let them get in your heads. The gunships launched, carrying them through the debris field toward the station's remains. Naruto created a dozen shadow clones as they approached, spreading them across the formation to maximize sensory coverage. Through their eyes, he saw the full extent of destruction, laboratories torn open to vacuum, research equipment scattered like toys, and something else. Scorch marks on the walls that formed deliberate patterns, almost like writing. Those symbols, Plo-kun observed as they landed in a barely intact docking bay. Ancient Sith script. A warning or a message? Can you read it? Ahsoka asked. The blind leading the blind, all falling into shadow. Plo Koon's voice was troubled. A taunt. Someone is playing games with us. The station interior was a nightmare of twisted corridors and exposed circuitry. Emergency lighting flickered weakly, casting everything in blood-red shadows. The team moved in tactical formation, clones covering sight lines, Jedi sensing for danger through the Force, Naruto's shadow clones scouting ahead. Contact ahead, one of Naruto's clones reported through their shared perception. But it's not droids. Not sure what I'm seeing. They rounded a corner to find the central lab. Bodies hung suspended in mid-air, frozen in positions of terror, the research station's crew, killed and preserved through some dark side technique Naruto couldn't begin to understand. Their faces were twisted in final moments of horror, eyes wide and unseeing. What kind of monster does this? Rex's voice was tight with controlled rage. The kind that wants to send a message. Anakin moved carefully into the lab, his lightsaber ignited. At the chamber's center, suspended in a containment field, floated a pyramidal crystal the size of a human skull. Red energy pulsed within it like a malevolent heartbeat, and just looking at it made Naruto's chakra network twist with discomfort. The artifact, Plo Koon confirmed. A Sith holocron, an ancient storage device containing knowledge and techniques of the dark side. This one radiates power unlike any I've encountered. Why leave it here? Ahsoka asked. If the Sith wanted it, they'd take it. Because they wanted us to find it. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere, ancient and patient and utterly confident. The lab's shadows deepened, coalescing into a figure draped in black robes. A hood concealed most of the face, but the eyes, burning yellow, filled with malice, fixed directly on Naruto. At last, the figure said. The dimensional traveler. I've been waiting to meet you properly. Every Jedi ignited their lightsabers, and clones raised weapons. But Naruto felt the wrongness radiating from this figure, power on a scale that dwarfed Dooku, that made the Force itself seem to writhe in discomfort. This was the Sith Master, the puppet master behind the war. Who are you? Anakin demanded, his blade held in guard position. I have many names, accumulated over many years. But you may call me Darth Sidious. The Sith Lord's voice carried dark amusement. And before you ask, yes, I orchestrated this meeting. The destruction here, the holocron, all arranged to bring young Naruto to my attention under controlled circumstances. Why? Naruto stepped forward despite Plo Koon's warning hand. What do you want with me? Want? Such a crude term. Sidious moved closer, seeming to glide rather than walk. I am merely curious. Power that exists outside the Force, that defies our understanding of reality itself. You are unique, dimensional traveler. A variable that should not exist, yet does. That makes you either a threat to be eliminated or a tool to be utilized. I'm not anyone's tool. Everyone is someone's tool, child. The Jedi use you as a soldier in their war. The Republic uses you to maintain their crumbling facade of moral superiority. Even your precious clones, you're using them to assuage your own guilt about being powerless to save everyone. Sidious's words cut deep, finding insecurities Naruto barely admitted to himself. At least I am honest about my manipulations. You started this war. Anakin's voice shook with fury. Thousands dead, billions suffering, all for what? Your sick power games. For order. For control. For a galaxy that finally understands true strength. Sidious turned his attention to Anakin. But we'll discuss my grand design another time. Today is about our young friend here. Red lightning erupted from Sidious's hands without warning. Not directed at the group, but at the holocron. The ancient artifact shattered, releasing a wave of dark side energy that slammed into everyone like a physical blow. Clones dropped, unconscious before they hit the ground. The Jedi staggered, their connection to the Force suddenly screaming with interference. Only Naruto remained standing, his chakra network insulated from the force manipulation. But that, he realized too late, was exactly what Sidious had counted on. Fascinating, the Sith Lord observed as Naruto stood alone among fallen comrades. Your power truly is independent of the Force. Which means you're vulnerable in entirely different ways. Dark side energy coalesced into tendrils, reaching for Naruto not through the Force but through the very fabric of reality. They touched his chakra network and pulled, trying to unravel the fundamental energy that powered his techniques. Pain unlike anything Naruto had experienced exploded through his body, not physical damage, but an attack on his very essence. He screamed, dropping to his knees. His chakra network convulsed, shadow clones across the station simultaneously dispelling as his concentration shattered. This was what Sidious wanted, to understand how dimensional energy worked, to find its weaknesses, to potentially replicate or counter it. Stop! Anakin surged forward despite the dark side interference, his lightsaber cutting through the energy tendrils. They reformed instantly, but the momentary break gave Naruto a chance to gather himself. Through the pain, through the violation of having his very energy dissected, Naruto felt something else. The Force, that ambient energy he'd been learning to work with, was reacting to Sidious's attack. Not defending him, but resonating with his chakra in ways it never had before. Like two musical instruments finally finding harmony after weeks of discord. Naruto seized that resonance, pulled on it with desperate strength. His chakra and the Force merged, not mixing but operating in perfect parallel. The pain didn't stop, but he could think through it now, could act. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 20 clones materialized, but these were different. They glowed with a faint golden light, their chakra networks reinforced by force energy they weren't using but were somehow compatible with. They moved as one, converging on Sidious with coordinated precision. The Sith Lord laughed, swatting them aside with casual force pushes. But the distraction was enough. Naruto formed the hand seal he'd been practicing for weeks, the technique he hadn't dared try in this dimension until now. Sage Mode. Natural energy, the Force itself, flooded into his chakra network. Not controlling it, not wielding it like the Jedi did, but absorbing it as raw power to supplement his own energy. Orange pigmentation appeared around his eyes, and his pupils became horizontal bars. Every sense sharpened to impossible clarity, his body enhanced to superhuman levels even beyond normal ninja capabilities. Sidious's expression shifted from amusement to genuine surprise. Impossible. You're channeling the Force without midichlorians, without any Force connection at all. You're treating it like ambient radiation to be absorbed rather than a conscious energy to be wielded. I learned from a really stubborn toad sage, Naruto said, his voice carrying new resonance. He taught me that natural energy is everywhere, in everything. Your galaxy's energy might be different, but the principle's the same. And now, he vanished in a burst of speed, reappearing behind Sidious with a fully formed Rasengan spinning in his palm. Let's see how your dark side handles this. Sage Art, Massive Rasengan. The technique was 3 times larger than his normal big ball Rasengan, reinforced by natural force energy and rotating at speeds that distorted space itself. Naruto drove it into Sidious's back with every ounce of strength his Sage Mode provided. The Sith Lord was blasted forward, his robes shredding under the assault. He crashed through laboratory equipment, demolishing workstations and computer banks. For a moment, there was silence. Then Sidious rose, his hood fallen away to reveal a face twisted with fury, yellow eyes blazing, pale skin marked with the corruption of decades immersed in the dark side. You dare. I dare plenty. Naruto was already moving, creating more shadow clones. In Sage Mode, he could manage far more than normal, and each clone could use his enhanced abilities. They swarmed Sidious from every angle, some attacking directly while others prepared techniques. But Sidious wasn't Dooku, he was magnitudes more powerful, more experienced. Red lightning exploded from his body in all directions, incinerating shadow clones by the dozens. The ones that survived long enough to attack found their strikes redirected by casual force manipulation, used against each other with contemptuous ease. "You've surprised me," Sidious admitted, force lightning crackling around his hands. "But surprises don't equal victory. You're powerful, dimensional traveler, but you're also young, inexperienced with what you face. Allow me to educate you." The attack came faster than Naruto could track even with Sage Mode, force lightning concentrated to a level that could kill instantly. Naruto threw himself aside, but the lightning clipped his shoulder. Agony shot through his body, disrupting his chakra network and breaking his Sage Mode concentration. He hit the ground hard, smoke rising from his armor where the lightning had struck. Through blurring vision, he saw Sidious advancing, death in those yellow eyes. Then Anakin was there, his lightsaber catching the lightning and redirecting it. Plo-kun joined from the other side, his own blade adding defense. Ahsoka covered their flank, and Rex, conscious again somehow, opened fire with his blaster set to maximum power. "You want him, you go through us." Anakin snarled. Sidious regarded them with something like pity. "Noble. Futile. But noble." He raised both hands, gathering power that made reality itself seem to bend. "Very well. Master, the Republic fleet is approaching." One of the clone troopers' comm units crackled with Admiral Yulren's voice. Multiple star destroyers detected emerging from hyperspace. "Whatever you're doing, finish it now." Sidious lowered his hands, his expression shifting to calculated assessment. "It seems our time together is cut short. Pity, I was enjoying our introduction." He fixed his gaze on Naruto. "But we will meet again, dimensional traveler. And next time, I'll be prepared for your unusual capabilities." Looking forward to it, Naruto managed through gritted teeth, pushing himself upright. "Such spirit. It will make breaking you all the more satisfying." Sidious began to fade into shadow, a technique that clearly wasn't normal Sith powers. "Oh, and Skywalker, give my regards to the Chancellor. I'm sure he'll be very interested to hear about today's events." Then he was gone, leaving only the destroyed lab, fallen researchers, and a team of battered warriors trying to process what had just happened. "We need to go," Plo-kun said urgently. "If separatist reinforcements are arriving, we cannot hold this position." They retreated to the gunships, carrying unconscious clones and precious sensor data from the battle. As the Resolute made the jump to hyperspace, Naruto sat in the medical bay getting his lightning burns treated, replaying the encounter in his mind. He'd achieved Sage Mode in this dimension, that was huge. It meant he could adapt, could grow stronger, could actually stand against threats like Sidious. But the Sith Lord had still been holding back, testing him, gathering data just like Dooku's assassins had. And that final comment about the Chancellor. "Anakin," Naruto said slowly as the Jedi came to check on him. "What Sidious said about Palpatine. The way he mentioned him. It felt wrong. I noticed." Anakin's expression was troubled. "Master Windu thinks Sidious might be trying to sow distrust, make us suspect our own leadership. Or maybe he's just being honest about his manipulations, like he said." Naruto met Anakin's eyes. What if Palpatine and Sidious are connected somehow? What if the Chancellor knows more about the Sith than he's let on? That's a dangerous accusation. I know. But everything about this feels orchestrated. The war, the clones, Palpatine gaining more power with every crisis. What if it's all part of the same plan? What if the Republic and Separatists are both being played? Anakin was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was careful. "If you're right, if Palpatine is somehow involved with the Sith, then we're in more danger than we ever imagined. The Chancellor has access to everything, military plans, Jedi operations, Senate proceedings. He'd know every move we make before we make it. So what do? We investigate. Carefully, quietly, without tipping our hand." Anakin's jaw set with determination. "And we prepare. Because if war has taught me anything, it's that the biggest threats are the ones you never see coming. Naruto nodded, leaning back against the medical bed. His body ached from the battle, his chakra reserves were depleted, and his mind raced with implications he barely understood. But he'd survived an encounter with the Sith Master, achieved Sage Mode in a new dimension, and proven that dimensional power could stand against the dark side. More importantly, he'd planted seeds of doubt about Palpatine. If Anakin was investigating, others would follow. Maybe, just maybe, they could unravel whatever conspiracy was driving this war before it was too late. Outside the viewport, hyperspace streamed past in bands of light. Somewhere out there, Sidious was planning his next move. Somewhere on Coruscant, Palpatine was consolidating power. And somewhere in the galaxy's shadows, the true endgame of this war was taking shape. But Naruto Uzumaki had never backed down from impossible odds. He'd fought gods and won. He'd changed the hearts of enemies and turned them into allies. He'd protected his friends no matter the cost. This galaxy might be strange and dangerous and filled with conspiracies that went deeper than he could fathom. But it also had people worth protecting, clones who deserved freedom, Jedi trying to maintain peace, and ordinary citizens caught in a war they didn't ask for. "Hey Anakin," Naruto said as the Jedi turned to leave. "Thanks for having my back in there. That's what friends do." Anakin smiled slightly. "Get some rest. Something tells me we're going to need you at full strength for whatever comes next." As Naruto closed his eyes, exhaustion finally claiming him, his last thought was a promise to himself and to everyone counting on him. He'd find a way to end this war. He'd expose whatever conspiracy was destroying the galaxy. And he'd make sure the clones, his brothers in arms, got the future they deserved. That was his ninja way. And he never went back on his word. The dimensional rift that had torn Naruto Uzumaki from his world and deposited him in a galaxy far, far away had changed both him and the Star Wars universe in ways neither could fully comprehend. In the weeks following the encounter with Darth Sidious, Naruto became more than just a curiosity or a tactical asset, he became a symbol of something the clone troopers had never truly believed in, the possibility of choice. Under Master Plo Koon's mentorship and with Senator Amidala's political backing, Naruto's quiet campaign for clone rights began gaining traction. It started small, ensuring clones received proper medical care, allowing them recreational time, recognizing individual achievements beyond tactical efficiency. But seeds once planted have a way of growing, and the clones themselves began to question their predetermined fate. The Jedi Council remained divided on the dimensional refugee. Some, like Master Windu, saw him as an unpredictable risk. Others, like Master Yoda, sensed that the Force itself had brought Naruto to their galaxy for reasons beyond mortal understanding. But all agreed on one thing: his ability to achieve Sage Mode by channeling the Force as natural energy, without midichlorians, without traditional Force sensitivity, represented a paradigm shift in their understanding of power itself. Anakin Skywalker's investigation into Palpatine proceeded with agonizing slowness, hampered by the Chancellor's political protections and the Council's reluctance to suspect their own government's leadership. But Naruto's instincts had planted doubt, and doubt was the first step toward revelation. As for Darth Sidious, the Sith Lord's interest in Naruto intensified. Here was power that existed outside the carefully constructed rules of the Force, immune to many dark side techniques yet capable of devastating effectiveness. Sidious began adapting his grand plan to account for this variable, seeing in the dimensional traveler both a threat to be eliminated and a potential weapon to be claimed. The Clone Wars raged on, but something had fundamentally changed. A ninja from another dimension had introduced concepts of friendship, choice, and unbreakable determination to a galaxy that had forgotten such things were possible. Whether this would save the Republic or doom it remained to be seen. But in barracks across the galaxy, clone troopers whispered about the orange-clad warrior who called them brothers. Who fought beside them not because of orders or programming, but because he chose to. Who believed they deserved better and was willing to fight the entire galaxy to give it to them. And in the shadows, watching and waiting, both light and dark prepared for the inevitable confrontation when Naruto Uzumaki's presence would tip the scales of destiny in directions no one, not even the Force itself, could fully predict. The dimensional traveler's story in the Star Wars galaxy had only just begun.